Hello everyone, how you doing? I'm Michael.
I'm Hayley.
And good morning, good evening, or good afternoon to you wherever you are watching in the world. Is the game in its final stages of development? No, not yet. No, it's still got a while to go. How you all doing? Today we're going to be doing a couple of different sprites and tile sets. I'm also going to be mixing some sound effects as well on stream. Don't know how long we're streaming for. We'll just see how it goes. So, how you all doing? Hope you're all well. And I'm going to jump in just 1 second here and start on some tile sets today. It is 8 o'clock in the morning here in Melbourne and it is freezing cold, so bear with us for just 1 sec.
It is a little bit chilly today.
Oh, don't be sad, it's got a while to go yet. Alright. So let me just show you what we're doing today. 1 second. Just going to grab up an image here. Alright, excellent. Oh, it's midnight there. 3 p.m. Oh,
Oh, that sounds like a good time.
didn't know you guys were streaming. First time I got the notification. We put it, we scheduled it last night at, about 12 hours ago. So it might have fallen outside of, you know, when you're awake and things like that. Might have been right over when you were sleeping or something similar. But, yeah, no, we've just started. Just went live now. So you haven't missed anything, that's for sure. Still having my morning coffee. Alright. So today, I'm making some tiles for basically our second type of level. So at the moment, in the gameplay footage that you might have seen of our game so far, there's sort of like one set of tiles that we're using for the environment. And that's basically changing every level you go down. You get a new sort of new environment, new tiles, and the level's going to generate in a slightly different manner as well. So I'll show you what we're looking at in terms of like the inspiration for this sort of level. So it's a somewhat aquatic theme, so think water temple, but not quite. So let me just chuck it over to Chrome here so you can have a look. So this is an image that we're using as a basis for our sort of general color palette and the general idea of it as well. So this is from Hearst Castle, which is in California. It's the son of George Hearst. Had this giant place built for him, and he's got a Roman-style bath, basically in his basement. That is ridiculously ostentatious, and it has these lovely blues and golds and things like that as well. So there's another example there. And that's what we're using as the basis for our sort of tiles this time around. Well, what's that? Is Bannerman 2, the rebannering, still a possibility after these sunken holes? Maybe. Maybe as some sort of like small joke project, but yeah, probably nothing serious, I imagine. But that's the type of thing that we're looking at here. So yeah, it's the Hearst Castle, they call it. And it has these wonderful blue and gold tiles all throughout. And that's very much the sort of look that we're going to be going for. We don't really have too much that we've started yet, so I'm going to do most of it on stream now and see what we got. So, so we've been playing around with a couple of different wall tiles for this. So the way our game generates is we got wall tiles and floor tiles. Let me show you here. Just if we go back to previous tile sets that we've been playing around with. So we've got individual wall elements and then individual floor elements. And then we also have what I like to call end caps. So these go on the top or the sides of walls when the level actually gets built up. So a good example, let me just dodgy something up here to show you how it generates, just so you got a bit of an idea. So I'll pick, I don't know, some of these grey floor tiles there. And we'll go, I don't know. Some of those walls, and then the tiles go on top like that. And then if the room was actually enclosed, you'd be seeing it. Whoop. You're seeing something like that when it actually all gets built up in game. So it's like you're looking down and it's just got the tops of the walls visible to you when it actually ends up generating. It does that all automatically with the way that I've made it generate the levels. But that's something that I'm going to be making here today as well. So let's have a look. So what do we got here? Do you use Photoshop? Yes, I do. Not for tiles themselves, but for sort of general purpose sort of things. Love Photoshop. It is great, except for when it's not. But most of the time it's pretty good. It's not lovely here, just because it's 3 PM. Oh, okay. Well, it's better than what we've got. Good. We've had sort of highs of about 10 degrees Celsius lately, so it's been absolutely freezing. Well, for us at least. It doesn't snow here or anything, so. Alright. So that gives you an idea of basically what I'm going to be looking at doing. I'm going to be working out some floor tiles and then some wall tiles, and then after that I'll have a look at doing some of the objects which get scattered around the room as well, which you would have seen that have, we've got boxes and chairs and all that sort of thing, that just get scattered around throughout the level as well. So they're sort of separate in terms of like how I'm looking at it now. I'm just looking at just the walls and the floor for the moment. And then if we get a bit of progress today, then I'll probably start working on some of them as well. So I'll jump over here. So all we've really got is we've got a couple of pages of just sort of general sort of concepts, trying to work out a bit of a color palette for it in here. So there's a couple of floor tiles, a couple of wall tiles, trying to see what works. You just skip the corners with no, there are tiny little corner tiles as well. They're basically half of what we've got. So the corner tiles, basically the in-engine, it cuts out, for example, that much of a wall and makes that uses that for the corners. So or actually even smaller now I think about it, it's about that big. So it's like 5x5 pixels, and then uses that for the wall itself. So it just uses bases that off the actual end caps that I've got. So which is nice because I don't have to sort of manually do them, but well, that works for our current way of our current tile set. It might change with these if our end caps are a bit bigger or chunkier. I'll have to adjust it slightly, but it's not too much bother really. It was worth the effort of going through and getting all this generation to work right, because I really don't need to do that many tile sets to get it looking okay. Now let me just jump on over. And just because some of you might be curious as well, how the random generation actually works, I might see if I can demonstrate here as well. I'm just going to do it in pixel edit, just because it's easy and I've got tiles. So let's assume I've got a 20x20 grid. Okay, so the way that the level actually generates is it basically uses a grid to work it all out, and it'll pick a start point, which at the moment I believe is starting right in the middle because it's not near any of the edges and it's less likely to foul up. What we do is we start there and we basically pop a marker down that says this is going to be a floor. Do you still use rotoscoping? We do, actually. Our intro animation is pretty much all rotoscoped, and I know certain elements of our in-game sort of animations are rotoscoped as well to a certain degree. Not as much as Bannerman, where it's like that super fluid style, but the intro definitely is like that. Now, when so yeah, what we do is we pick a start spot here and we go, right, that's the floor. And then from here, we pick a direction. So basically in the algorithm it goes, which way do we want to go? Do we want to go up, down, left, right? So it picks one, let's say it goes up. And now it goes, right, this is the floor. And then it basically sneaks through, deciding every now and then if it wants to change direction. So let's say it sort of goes, oh, yep. Fantastic, we're going over here. Down here. And we basically make one big long snake all the way through until it satisfies, you know, the sort of algorithm that I've got that says, right, now that's enough steps, and let's go on to the next stage of generation. So there are lots of checks here. If it doesn't get long enough because it hits, like, you know, that sort of end walls, it cancels and then restarts, things like that. So it does have to sort of get long enough and sort of complex enough. And when you finish with that, you basically end up with a nice little snake sort of shape. And this is very similar to how quite a lot of games randomly generate. They'll do, like Nuclear Throne's a good example, does this exact same thing with not much added to it. There's just snakes around quite a lot. So it creates a lot of sort of, I don't know, kind of like rooms that'll be shaped like this. It'll sort of snake around and then be like, oh, yep, I'm going this way. And then it'll come back up through the room and then go in that direction. So you end up with like a lot of loops like that. Ours doesn't change direction all that much. And the reason for that is because then we've got another sort of pass that goes through. And it looks for specific features, basically, and then generates rooms on top of that. So, for example, it can look for a long stretch of a corridor. So if you get a long corridor, let's say it actually started down here. So if you get a long corridor like this, it basically checks through and it goes, right, there's a long corridor that's sort of isolated just by itself. I'm going to put a room in here like this. And then it goes, oh, right, there's a little corner like that, like just a 9-degree corner with a corridor. We're going to extend that out into a room, a larger room, and so on and so on. So this is a long corridor there, so it would probably get extended out into something like that. Then it goes through and does more checks on that. So it goes, oh great, there's a room here, which it's already generated in the last step, and it goes, there's a hallway leaning off sort of north-south from that, and there's nothing east or west. So it might try to join up there, and then it might generate a corridor up this way, just ending in a dead end. And similar sort of things happening here. It'll go, oh, for example, one it would do what it would be to join that up and create another entrance. And it would likely join that up as well. So I've got lots of different steps that go through and try to make things a bit more interesting. Then there'll be another step on top of that, which is very similar to the first one, where it checks for long hallways with not much going on, and it would definitely detect that this one is at the end. And a bit of a dead end, so it would fill that in and make something a bit more interesting out of it. Let's just say it's a square room, just for the sake. And then, you know, that's pretty much it. Now, when the snake eventually came to a stop, it would have marked that as the end point. And let's say that's the beginning point there. And now it does another check and make sure that you can actually get to the end from the beginning. There shouldn't be anything stopping you, but it's just a bit of a sanity check to make sure. And then we make sure there's another check that basically goes through, checks how many floor tiles there are versus not, make sure the level's big enough, and if it's not, because it's done something really weird and gone all down the bottom left corner or something, it starts again. And that's pretty much how our level generation works. The cool thing about it is because all these checks happen that draw the different rooms, I can change how big I want those rooms to be or what checks it's looking for. So on our first level, it works really well with the sort of rooms that we're looking at with our current tile set, which has lots of big square rooms. Some of them are huge, and lots of long corridors. And then when we're getting into sort of next level down, we can make it more snake-like if we want to, with like lots of little branching paths. You know, you can make it more cave-like and that sort of thing very easily by just kind of changing it around a bit. So that's how it works. It's pretty simple. It seems to work pretty well. It doesn't stuff up very much, which is nice. Yeah. It took a while to to get it going. Like, it took about a month or two to get it working properly, but it's working pretty well. I haven't really done much random generation stuff before in the past, and this seemed like one of the easier ways to do it. And I like the way of going through and checking multiple times to just make sure that everything's happy, and definitely to refine up some of the more boring features you get, like just long hallways that go nowhere, because no one likes that. Okay, so now I've got to think about actually starting some tiles. So I've got a couple of... So basically, with the way that this works as well, I should go back here for just 1 second. We've got... when it generates the world and it goes, right, this is a floor, this is another type of floor, and, you know, this is the floor, this is not. What it does do is it checks if it's a hallway or not. So we've got a distinction in the engine with something that is a hallway. So anything that isn't connected to itself, like this and all these others along here, it basically will go through and go, right, they're hallways. And so on and so forth. Now, the hallways, at the moment, in the current level we've got, have their own tiles that they draw. So that's why we've got different textures in the hallway to the main room. It helps break it up and make it, you know, not look so just like a path's been carved through, you know, an empty space, which it has, but it sort of helps break it up visually. So we're going to assume that we're going with this exact same process on the new level. I might vary it up. For example, something I am thinking about is also detecting the edge of rooms like that, so we can have different tiles around the rim, and then, you know, just the tiles in the middle as well, so we can have nice contrasting runs around the outside. Might work well with this sort of thing, but I don't know. So I'm gonna sort of just assume it's working in the same way as the current level, and then hopefully I'll make a surplus of tiles today, and if I want to change it up then I can, and I don't really have to make anything new, which would be kinda handy. So let me jump over now and I'll have a little look-see. So the first sort of tiles I've got here that I've sort of... the ones I'm really happy with are these ones here. So again, going for the look again, if you missed it, this sort of thing here, the big ostentatious...
like a bathhouse.
Yeah,
almost.
Roman bathhouse type sort of deal. Lots of blues, lots of gold, and lots of water as well, which will be coming later. So that's what we're going for. And these slot together here just in case it's not obvious. These slot together with the tiles on top like that, so they have the sort of that Roman arch coming through there. And I don't have any side end caps or anything yet, but I will. What do we got? We've got a couple of questions here. What do we got? Do you have traditional jobs as well as game development? Not really. Like, Haley, yeah, well, I'll let you answer this one.
I work a couple of days a week as an optical dispenser, so people who need glasses get to come and see me, and I get to pick out their lenses for them. But, you know, the dream is to do this full time.
We're pretty close to it, so Bannerman made basically just enough that it almost got us there, so well, you never know. Hopefully after this one comes out, then we can just both do it full time, but we're pretty close to it at the moment. This is our main job. Alright, so with this sort of wall texture, I'm thinking more hallway rather than main room, because it is pretty full on. So I'm going to see if I can make something that's a little bit less dramatic for the main rooms here. I am happy with this sort of style, and obviously we do want this slightly ruined. It is a ruin after all. It is not like a beautiful, lovely sort of thing like the Hearst Castle has, but let me see what I've got here. So I'm just going to have a bit of a play around here. I'd like to keep the blues on the walls, I think, for the most part. Otherwise I might try inverting it and go a bit of gold wall as well, but we'll just see. I'm really not sure what I want, so I'm just going to chuck him straight in. One thing I do like are these pillars in between each, much like on the original one there. Those big giant pillars. Big fan of them. I think that's a core part of the look. So we're going to try for something like that. But we'll see how we go. Hello.
Got another little question there. Will we stay using Game Maker in the future?
No, we're not married to it or anything. So yeah, there's like in the future we'll probably, like I originally started with 3D sort of stuff, so we're probably likely to move back over to that at some point. I was just getting a bit sick of it and I wanted to do some 2D. That's the reason my last game was made in Game Maker. It's fine for what we need it for, but yeah, we're not like, die-hard Game Maker fanatics or anything like that, so nothing like that. What's the name of the program you use? Well, we're using Pixel Edit here for our pixel art itself. There's many other alternatives out there. Some of them are better, but we've been using this from the start, and don't change what you're doing mid project. So we're sort of still using Pixel Edit at the moment. There are many other alternatives. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, some of them are much better in different ways. This is quite nice because it is rather simple and mostly does the job that we need it to. But yeah, there are many other alternatives out there. This probably isn't the best for a lot of animation, to be honest. There's other better options.
Yeah, this one's been really good for sprites. We had some issues with it crashing doing the intro animation when our files just got too big, because it's not really made for that, but we managed to get it done.
Yeah, because intro animation is basically animation done for it's basically full resolution, in that our resolution is 420 by whatever. So it's not really made for tiles that big, basically, but it still ended up doing the job at the end of the day with sort of very little argument, so that was quite good. Oh, hello, Snake Lord. How are you today? I hope you're well. With map generation, does it have the special room that it must generate for the... wait, hang on, let me read that again. With map generation, does it have special rooms that it must generate for the level, or is it completely random? It does, so due to the way it kind of works, it will always end up generating sort of preset little rooms and shapes that I want in there. You don't end up with ever just a snaky path or like a completely sort of jumbled mess. Because it really doesn't, that snaky path doesn't really move around too much due to the way I've currently got it set. I can easily make it do that and make a sort of terrible cave sort of environment, but yeah, like it basically goes through and it generates a bunch of sort of prefab rooms that I've already built essentially, and then sometimes messes them up. Have you ever thought about porting to mobile or Switch? Yeah, probably not mobile. For most of our games, really probably wouldn't work. Like this, most definitely wouldn't really work on mobile without quite a few changes to it. Same with Bannerman, for that matter. Switch, possibly. But porting's a pretty big job, and there's only 2 of you, so we'll have to see how it sells and things like that. So, to see if it's worth putting the time into. You don't just go save as, and that's it.
It'd be nice if it did work like that.
Yeah, it would be lovely. Will you show the game in its current state later? Yeah, sure. Yeah. We'll be jumping into the engine in a bit after I see if I can come up with something for this tile set. What do we got here? Hey, how are you today? I'm very well. A bit tired. Thank you, Major Tom. Any tips for coming up with a colour palette? Start really small and only add colours if you need them. Pick, like, basically super contrasting colours. Every single time you want to add a colour, pick something that's sort of a bit more grandiose than what you wanted, ideally, and sort of keep going from there until you end up with something that's got nice, vibrant sort of colours to it. You don't want to add a colour if one of the colours you've already got can do the same job. So if you need a blue, but you've got a sort of dark, like a dark blue, for example, and you've got a dark bluey green that can sort of do the job, Don't add anything. That would be my advice. I like to keep it as limited as possible. What do we got? So you use this software for the features. Is there something to make rotoscoping easier? Oh, not really, to be honest. It's not like there's a good program out there if you want to just do rotoscoping. I've played around with it briefly. It's called Paint of Persia, which is a very cute name. That's basically just made for rotoscoping. This really isn't. All we've got is you can set up animations, it's got onion skinning, and you've got your pixel art tools. That's it. Paint of Persia, you can rotoscope basically directly over like a YouTube video, for example. It makes it super easy to do that sort of thing. It doesn't really have like a window, so to speak. So yeah, if you're looking at just doing rotoscoping, something like that would probably be better. No worries. Alright, I think I'm gonna see if I can work some sort of arch in here. Let's see what we got. I'm just gonna rough it out to see if I actually like the idea or not. Or if I hate it. Alright. I mean, it could work. Did I not do this evenly? No, that's okay. Alright. Yeah, no worries. I believe it's free as well, Paint of Persia. But yeah, I haven't used it too much, but it seemed pretty cool, to be honest. Do you use templates for human sprites with walk cycles, etc.? We use reference footage and sort of reference frames and things like that. No templates, really. Like, we just type in sort of animation walk reference, you'll find a bunch of footage that people have filmed. What's the one that you were using, Haley? It was. Can you remember the name of it? It's basically ancient.
Yeah. No, I cannot, but I'll find it so we can have a look at it.
Yeah, there's this one reference that we were using pretty heavily, which is you would recognize it if you saw it. We'll see if we can find it now. But it's basically old film reference of people walking and like a lot of horses and things like that as well. But no, nothing like templates or anything really. But just a bunch of reference frames and then have that open in the corner and then try to replicate it.
Yeah, if I can find it not on Pinterest.
Yeah. Let's see if we can find a name of it for you. Yeah, Paint of Persia. Yeah, it is free. There you go. I can't vouch for how stable it is or anything like that. Like I said, I haven't used it that much, but it seems pretty good to me. I didn't really see any problems with it. It's a pretty cute idea, actually, the way it works.
There you go, found him. Edward Muybridge?
Edward Muybridge.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can look that up.
Yeah. But yeah, if you see them, you'll probably recognize them. Like in the intro animation, I used some of the just the walking reference images, and also it was like lowering a rifle as well. There's so many, great to look at.
Yeah, it's all these ones if you've ever seen these sorts of things before. Like lots of horses and stuff like that, and lots of guys getting around in underwear. But like, yeah, they're absolutely fantastic. And like, yeah, super ancient. What do we got? Like Celotype, 1887. There you go. Just got a kangaroo jump in there. There you go. Yeah, pretty cool. They're very useful. Alright. Let's see if I can make myself happy with some sort of arch here. Maybe something a bit column-esque might be alright. Not too sure. Let's go with an arch and a column. Why not? Let's actually try it. We'll go gold columns. It's a bit ridiculous, but we'll go for it.
Fancy.
Let's just try it. Let's see if it works or not. Let's see if we can go the...
I do have a microphone. I'm maybe not leaning into it enough. Can you guys hear me okay, or is it still pretty quiet?
Yeah, no, we've got a mic there for Haley now. Let me see if I've actually got everything on here. You should be able to hear her.
Test, test, hello.
Might be a bit quiet, Haley. Might have to eat it a bit more.
Okay, I will get closer to the microphone. It is still turned on. I haven't turned it off. That's good. It's always a start.
Alright.
Alright, cool. Thanks, Taka Taka.
You both sound beautiful. There we go. That's what I like to hear. Beautiful. Alright. I don't know. Something vaguely like that. Let me just see if I can block this out in a way that I don't totally hate. ASMR. Oh, yeah. For sure.
Haley's congested breathing because she's got a bit of a cold.
Yeah, we're both a little bit ill at the moment. So I apologise if we're sniffling everywhere. But hopefully it's okay. I don't know, let me try something like this. I am literally just making it up as I go here, so I'll probably hate this. But it might be alright.
That's the thing with like doing tiles and like, you know, coming up with enemy concepts and stuff like that. You have to try a bunch of things to see what works. And a lot of the time you end up, you know, junking the first things you did.
Yeah. Pretty regularly. Yeah. Nice to catch you live this time. Hope you are both doing well. We're pretty good, thank you. I hope you're doing well as well. That was weird to say, but yes, thank you very much for tuning in. We should be live for a couple of hours at least today. If you're interested at all, I'm mainly just going to be trying to see if I can come up with some tiles that I don't hate. But we'll see how that goes. If I have no progress at all, I'll probably move on to something else altogether. I don't mind the idea of having the columns there. I definitely don't like how they're looking at the moment though. But I don't mind the overall idea. So let me just see if I can bump. Clean this up a bit. And get some sort of shading going on this that I don't hate. I have to work out something on the actual back wall as well. A mural or something might be nice. What do we got there? Which games do you like to play? Ooh. Haley, what do you like to play?
I've been playing some Elder Scrolls Online. I like kind of like retro style games, like stuff I used to play when I was a kid. It's a great game I was playing. I'll have to look it up. I haven't played it in a while. It really reminded me of old like NES games. It was just like a little indie title. Let me look that one up.
That wasn't Alwa's Awakening, was it?
Oh, it was Alwa's Awakening. Thank you. It had a total mind blank. But I haven't played that for a little while, but I really enjoyed that. It's something I played kind of recently. What have you been playing, Mike?
I've just been, lately I actually played, I just started up Dragon's Dogma again I had that on PlayStation but didn't play much of it, and now I've got it on PC and thought I'd actually give it a bit of a bash, and I quite like it actually. It's not bad. What do we got here? How do you feel about, how do you feel about the fact that GameMaker 2 has built-in pixel editor? I know you guys just use GameMaker, by the way. Yeah, well that's great. Like, ideally, if you want something like the ideal dream for Game Maker is it's all basically all in one. You never have to leave the actual program to do everything you want. I haven't really used it because we don't really use Game Maker 2 at the moment, but I hear it's pretty decent, which is cool. Like, because Game Maker 1 has a built-in sort of sprite editor, but it's pretty bare bones, to be honest. It's only good if you realize last minute after you've imported the sprite, you're like, oh, there's a pixel wrong there, and you just want to fix that up. But it's, yeah, I wouldn't use it for actually making anything, really. But yeah, hopefully, if it's better than that, then it's pretty good, to be honest. Tile size that we use. This is these are 32 by 32, I believe. Let me just double check that. Yes, 32 by 32.
Another question there. Any E3 games you're planning to play?
Cyberpunk. Been waiting for that for ages.
And are you using a mouse to draw right now or a drawing pad?
I'm using a mouse right here.
Look, I am working on some character sprites at the moment, and I'm really just kind of recoloring things and like adding different bits of clothing and stuff like that. So for this kind of thing, I use a mouse. If I am coming up with new ideas or like for the intro animation and stuff, I used a tablet.
It's only been half an hour and you guys are giving me some great tips. Oh, good. I'm glad. I am really, really glad. How do you make sure that all graphic asset style is consistent? Well, to be honest, because there's two of us doing it, we're using the same palette and the same sort of basic size and style for everything. That's pretty much how we do it. If you have a larger team or people that you don't have in the same room as you, it can get pretty rough trying to do something like that. But for us, it's like, yeah, it's really not a big deal, to be honest. Like, the worst case scenario, we sort of lean over to each other and just go, that's not good. and then fix it up from there. So
yeah, just kind of lean in and go, how did you do that bit there? Oh, the shading's on that side. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, that's right. Like, yeah, I suppose, yeah, that's something. We do have predefined rules for where the light comes from and things like that for different assets. So, for like on the character, light always comes from like the upper left and the shadow to the bottom right. So things like that help quite a bit. Ever considered isometric style? Isometric tile styles. Yes, I have. This is somewhat, but not quite isometric, but I know what you mean. Yes, I have. We're throwing it up for this game. Tossing it up if we wanted to do it or not. We ended up deciding nah, but very easily could have gone, oh yes, we're going to go full isometric. One of my one of the games I really loved as a kid is called Degeneration, which I'm actually going to open up here so you can have a bit of a look at it. Degeneration. Where are we? Which has this lovely isometric style here. Let me see if I can actually find a picture of it that isn't terrible. Bum, 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 bum. Bomb. That's Degeneration, which is super cute, and I think the art has actually held up pretty well, considering I think this is pretty early 90s, to be honest.
Yeah, the art looks really good.
Yeah, quite a fan of that. And that's at like full-on 45 degree. It was kind of weird to walk around because you just use up, down, left, right arrows because it was a PC title, but then you walked on the sort of 45 degree angle to that. But yeah, it was pretty cool, to be honest. Where do you guys live? We live in Melbourne. Melbourne, Australia.
It might have also been what days do we go live?
Oh yeah. Thought you said where do we live?
We are doing the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of every month.
Yes.
YouTube permitting.
Yes. Last month, YouTube streaming went. Not last month. 2 weeks ago, YouTube streaming went down, and that was site-wide, sadly. So we weren't able to actually go live, and yeah, that was a bit of a stuff up on YouTube's side, but yeah. Ideally, every 2 weeks. Isn't it hard to live and work together? We don't really seem to have much of a problem with that, to be honest.
No, lots of people ask that, but I don't know. We get along really well.
Yeah, I guess just, because we get along, we don't really have any dramas with that. The hardest part is sort of trying to separate, work from, not work, which I really struggled with, when I was making Bannerman by myself. Having sort of downtime where you're not working was a bit of an issue for me. See, I don't mind the general idea of these columns, but nah. Yeah, they're alright. We have to do something along the lines of, I think definitely shading them like that's probably the way to go. Fresh cut, yes, thank you. I know I was waiting for you guys the day that the YouTube live streaming went down. Consider switching to Twitch. Yeah, we'll probably do. We'll probably simulcast to Twitch at some point. I just, to be honest, haven't been bothered to set it up yet. So yes, you will likely be able to see us on Twitch, probably in the not too distant future instead, especially if you prefer that platform for watching. I understand a lot of people do prefer Twitch to YouTube, although YouTube streaming has gotten a lot better from what it used to be like. It used to be pretty terrible. I want to chill out in Photoshop for 30 minutes. You got any character creatures you want fan art or concepts for? Ooh.
Nice.
What do you reckon, Haley? I do like how sort of beefy to...
Yeah.
I reckon if you want something to have a stab at, where is he?
Do you want what I'm working on?
Yeah. Oh, for him. What's he called?
He is player animations.
Oh, we got there. Doctor, archaeologist.
So this is what I'm working on at the moment.
Yes, this is what Haley's currently doing. I reckon probably our little beefeater fella here, which is the soldier, soldier class that we've got. I reckon it'll be worth quite a bit of a look. He seems to rapidly be becoming the main character of the game. Actually, he does feature in the intro animation a bit. So if you want to take a stab at something, a little beefeater fella wandering around a place where he shouldn't be. I reckon that sounds like a good way to go. So much work, yeah. Yep, it's coming along. It's doing well.
Click open the archaeologist.
Yeah, we've got.
Done.
So it's the next character, archaeologist. He's not inspired by anything. And then we've got a doctor as well. They're all very, very Victorian, all of the characters here, more or less. Is the Doctor done at the moment? Oh, he's nearly done. Looks a bit.
Yeah, nearly. Just up to his like combat animations.
That's him. That's him running along there. They're very British looking fellows, a lot of them. Close that now so you can keep working on it. Thank you very much. Alright. Okay. Okay, let's see if I can get this so I don't totally hate it. It's getting there. It's getting there, but I'm not quite feeling it yet. It's definitely looking better than it was. See, it's about I think there's about 12 or so characters all up, something like that. They're all based off the same base sprite, but they have different clothing, and some of their clothing's, you know, longer and shorter and things like that. But it's pretty cool. How's programming in GameMaker versus some other programming language like C++? Look, it's like, yeah, it's pretty easy, to be honest. You will encounter some things that will annoy you at first, due to its weird structure. But that's like any programming language. Whenever you switch over to anything, they all have their little quirks and things like that. And like, especially, you know, like just trying to learn what all the built-ins and everything are. But like, yeah, it's really not too bad. A lot of people absolutely hate it, and they like kick and scream about it, and they're like, no, it's absolutely terrible. But I don't mind it too much, to be honest. Try to put one of the textures you did as background for the archer. Yes, that's a good idea, actually. I'll have to change the color of them, but yes, because I do like the archers for this, and that would help very much to sort of separate it from the current level that we've got, because that's very bricks and blocky and things like that. So I'm thinking I'm going to do top of the column and then a little arch for this bit. Speaking of, I should probably try that now to see if I actually like this or not. So let me just flip him around. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, no, that should be right. I think. It's a little column like that. Yeah, something like that. It's not too bad. And then I reckon probably just continue this arch up. See if I actually get it to match at some point. But yeah, okay. It's probably not too bad. We'll have to have a little cutout in here. Yeah, okay, we're getting there, Okay. We're getting there. I have to try to come up with something I want for a floor tile as well, because I'm really not too sure what I want floor-wise for this, because I don't want anything too busy. yeah, because the last thing I want is we're going to be putting objects on top of the actual floor tiles as well. So I do want them kind of plain, but I don't want them so plain that they're boring as. So there's kind of like a hard balance here. Walls are easy because you can kind of go as full on as you want. Obviously, if you go too full on with them, then you can really tell when things are repeating over and over again. But yeah, we'll come up with something for it. Yeah. I don't mind it so far. This needs some sort of inset in him, I think. So let me see if I can whip something up for this. Hello! How are you doing today? Yeah, let me just fill that in for the moment. So this tile grid off. That makes it look huge. No. Yeah, definitely have to go a different colour for that one. Do not like that. Yeah, some people do like to make their own engine. Definitely not something I'd be interested in, but I can see why. I can see the appeal of it, that's for sure. Of course, your risk is that you spend years making your engine and you don't actually make a game, you've just made an engine instead, which I've seen happen to quite a few people. But, I mean, like, especially if you're not actually trying to, do it for a job type thing, what's really wrong with that? If it's just your hobby or something like that, and you just want to make an engine, then, I mean, go for it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yes, there's no center pixel, that's right, you've got a center 4 and things in that thing too. Yes, I know.
That has annoyed me at times.
Yes. That's kind of one of those things you learn to work around. Written for a pure background behind the arches with the more busy variations at the top. Oh, I gotcha. I know what you mean. Yeah, I'm gonna go through and I don't know, do something here, but I'm not too sure what I want. Yeah, I'm not sure if I want. Now I'm looking at it, I'm not sure if I want an arch on the main rooms or if I just want to go up, similar to what we did on previous tiles where we went bum, and just having just a sort of square top to them, more or less. But yeah, I don't know. Can't really decide. I suppose because okay. I don't know. Let me just let that sit for the moment in my brain. I'm gonna leave that one for the moment, just sitting over to the side to see if I like it or not, because I'm gonna keep working on it. I'm not sure if I actually like that idea or not, and it's kind of annoying me. So I'm just gonna move over to something else.
It's the beauty of having an entire game to work on.
Sure.
You're like, that's bothering me right now. I'm gonna do something else.
Yeah, because I'm not sure if I actually like that or not. Why don't we go... I think those same sort of columns that we currently have on here. Maybe a little bit smaller. Let's see if I like that. It's looking good. Thank you very much. Trying to learn how to do good pixel art. Always want to do something in the style of Fallout 2. Ah, Fallout 2, yeah. That's sort of like an art style you don't really see much anymore, do you? Did they... Sort of thinking, did they... Was Fallout 2 baked 3D models, or was it actually just animated? I mean, apart from, obviously, there's the actual tile sets and the environment and things like that, but... Kind of reminds me, like Diablo. I know Diablo was definitely baked... Oh, excuse me, baked models for the characters. I guess maybe that's why you don't see it anymore. There you go. It was baked. Thought so. Nothing stopping you from doing that these days, really. I mean, just means you got a model and then make sprites out of it. That's like double the work. How much fun? Think of how much fun you could have. Okay, that could work. Bang to bang. That's not bad. Okay, something like that might work. Yeah, did Brigador bake their models down? Must admit. It makes sense, because it does look like that, or they tried really hard to achieve the exact same look. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go on top for that, cool. Yeah, Brigador's a great looking game. Yeah, I don't mind something like that for one of them. I can imagine if I had something that fits over the top. Yeah, that could work. Do a general lighting for it, which just goes like that. Oh, that's what I'll do. Oh yeah. Excuse us for 1 second, I believe we've got someone at the door, so I'll be back in just one tick. 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. I took the opportunity to grab a coffee as well. Ah, what are we talking about here? Probably pizza guy. Oh, no. No pizza. No pizza at the moment. 9 AM here. That'll be starting pretty early, I reckon. Try hand doing something like that. Like baking 3D down to 2D. I love it. I reckon it looks fantastic. It's probably a lot of work, but like you said, but I don't know. There's something to be said for it. Alright, what was I doing? It's definitely a unique look, that's for sure. Like, it has that instant nostalgia feeling if you ever played anything from that sort of era where computing power really couldn't handle all those models being rendered in real-time 3D, so they had to bake them down to try to, you know, get it look super flash and things like that. So yeah, I do like it. Okay, what do we got? Yeah, that's not bad. I don't mind that sort of thing. So especially when I start putting some of these fancy gold bits on them, I don't mind that as a general sort of style for it. Let's see if I can work out exactly what I do with the top though. Bum, 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 bum. It's like big square columns basically. Yeah, it might work. And then traditionally in our other tiles, the top caps are lighter, so it generally goes from dark to light up towards the top. So Gen 5s too, yeah. Yeah, like yeah, there's so many games from that period where it was like the same sort of thing, like it was baking 3D models in a 2D just because like you wanted to have that, you wanted to use 3D models and you wanted to have, you know, cool 3D effects and stuff like that, and the lovely 3D graphics it always used to say all over the box, but you know, computing power just wasn't there. Let's go something like that. Maybe I can work in some sort of brickwork on this now I look at it. I might try that. Hey, I just started pixel art and I can make little humanoid figures, but anything else I struggle with. Any advice? My only advice would be to just keep trying things that you're not good at, like over and over and over again, and eventually you'll find that you just get better at all of it. Have a little look at what other people are doing for specific things, like if there's a certain sort of thing that you're trying to do. Have a bit of a troll through the internet to see if there's someone that does it particularly well and have a look at how they do it. I'm not saying rip theirs off, but see what they're doing and where, especially looking at sort of like their shading and things like that, because a lot of pixel art is just down to how you shade it. You can take something that looks really crap and turn it into something that looks really good really quickly with a bit of shading. So that would be my advice, is to have a bit of a look around and then just try it a bunch. And your first things are going to look terrible, but if you keep going, then it's going to get better over time. And I mean, that's like anything really, isn't it?
Yeah. Is it Metal Slug that has amazing pixel art?
Yeah, Metal Slug.
They do so much cool movement just with shading.
Yeah, it's all that. It's sub-pixel movement, as they call it. So, yeah, Metal Slug's a great example for shading in general. This soldier class have a sword by chance? I just noticed the British Royal Guard do. So, just wondering. Yes, he has a saber, and he also has a musket as well. Is a saber?
Yep, saber and musket.
Saber and musket.
Yeah.
And he also has a bugle type horn as well. That's his special ability, which is like a self-buff. That's not bad. I don't mind that. Something like that. I might try putting a bit of brickwork on this just to see what it looks like, some irregular brickwork. Because I think that might look alright, so let me just try that. So I'll go from dark to light. Metal Slug is made by Asians though. They don't count, they're born to be awesome at everything. Well, Metal Slug, I honestly think Metal Slug really hasn't been topped, to be honest, in terms of its pixel art. Like, I mean, some stuff gets pretty close, but it must have taken forever to do some of those animations, especially the vehicles, like the tanks and things like that. That's just ridiculous.
There's some really beautiful artwork.
The sheer number of frames too that they use is just ridiculous. It's like even like an idle animation, you know, it's not uncommon in Metal Slug to have, you know, like 8-10 frames just as an idle for a vehicle, and that's kind of ridiculous. Alright. I'll try a bit of a regular brickwork on this and see if it's something I like. Might not like it, but it's worth a go.
Yeah, Owlboy does have beautiful artwork as well. That's actually on my list of things that I want to play.
Yeah, I haven't actually played that.
No.
Bayonet would be a nice addition too, yeah. Yeah, I did contemplate doing the Bayonet for him, but it's the I wanted him to have a sword type weapon which has a sort of horizontal swipe rather than a like a spear type, because we do have spear type weapons in it which a bayonet would be perfect for. But he's sort of like almost the introductory class, and it's much easier to fight with a horizontal one because it's like spears, much like Dark Souls and things like that, perfect for in a hallway. But out in the open with lots of enemies around you, not really the best sort of choice. You got to kind of kite enemies around and line them up. Let's go a small one there, and then a big one. And then I can get to shading these. And decide if I like them or not. Yeah, it's looking alright so far. Let's make sure I've got my colours right. So I've got 1, 2, 3, yes, which is the same as what I've got here. Cool, let's see if I can get this looking okay. And yeah, I'm not even sure if I want brickwork on this, but we'll give it a go. Reminds me of the Magic Wall. Yeah, actually. Still haven't put that in. I wasn't really sold on it as to whether or not, but yeah, it does actually mine. It's almost the same thing. I'm just making bricks. I'm doomed to eternally make bricks. Yeah, we'll try it. Because the other alternative, the actual sort of, like the image that we're looking at, it's all made up of tiny little tiles, which is pretty hard to represent in pixel art, so maybe some brickwork might work. We'll see. Chances are I'll probably hate it. Oh, that's not too bad. I don't mind it. Do some rough shading in here to see if it's something I want to keep going with or not. I think it might be alright. I'm not sure if it'll be useful for what we need it for though, but maybe with a bit of a palette shift it might be useful. I'm not sure if I want blue walls for the main rooms or not. I suppose it'll come down to whatever colour I pick for the actual floor tiles as to whether or not that's going to work. Now on the previous ones, yes, I encircle it. Whoa! I should probably make some of these a bit irregular. Well, it's not bad.
It's quite nice.
I don't mind it. Obviously that gold needs some shading on it, but it's not bad. Okay. Obviously I have to do some different variations of it and things like that. Bricks and different layouts and bricks missing and that sort of thing, but it's not too bad right now. Yeah, that could definitely work. This needs a bit of love, but yeah, for sure. Okay, I definitely like that more than the arches. These ones, anyway. Okay. Well, let me have a look and see if I can work out something for the floor tiles for it, because obviously if I make them blue, then everything's just going to be way too blue. And it's going to look ridiculous. So let's Let's see what we got. What we got in our palette at the moment. I might end up picking some other colours for this. Grey's a bit dull. Silvers and things like that, little bit boring. I go gold floors. Maybe. Could be a bit ridiculous. Maybe that would work well in the hallways.
Oh, yeah.
We've done a bunch of sort of floor concepts over here as well. Not sure if they're too busy or just colours. I don't know, we sort of tried a bunch of stuff. Because that's like a bit of a test there. And,
Like, I like them, but they might be too busy.
yeah. Alright. I don't know. Maybe I'll just try something. I'll just try something new. Bugger it. Let's give something a go. Let's go with a... Let's go with gold, because why not? Let me just see if I can divide him up. Into something that looks interesting. Maybe. Maybe. Using some reference for this one, beginner pixel artist here. I'm kind of using like an inspiration image, I suppose you should say. Using this as a bit of general inspiration for the general sort of color scheme and kind of look that we're going for, but no direct reference or anything like that. Not trying to copy this outright, but just keep the same general vibe for it. But you know, jumping off from there as need be as well, because obviously some of this just can't be done in pixel art, like these tiny little mosaic tiles are not going to happen, obviously, so but you can see, especially in the where are we? In these wall tiles here that get assembled like that with the arches over the top, you can see where we're coming from with the sort of like Greco-Roman type pattern across them as well. But yeah, we're just kind of making it up as we go along, to be honest, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. All the stuff I make today might go in the bin, or it might end up in the finished game, who's to say. I'm gonna try. Something like this. And I'll see if we like it or hate it. Oriental feeling reminds me of Prince of Persia. Ah, Prince of Persia. Love me some Prince of Persia. I really liked Prince of Persia 2. That's the old Prince of Persia 2, not like the new 3D ones, but the sprite-based one. Because it had so there's some varied locations to it that wasn't just you know, run around in a dungeon with the bricks behind you. Let's see if I can find something for Prince of Persia 2. Like that. That's fantastic. Beautiful. Pretty flash, eh?
That's some nice art.
Yeah, the second one really stepped it up with the art for it. Yeah, definitely more detailed. More colours to work with and things like that as well. Midnight at your place. Geez, you're committed. What are you doing here? Go to bed. Do I want to go with something like that? It's worth a try. Let's give it a bash. I'll do a bit of basic shading on it. Yeah, it's vaguely water temple-y, sort of, in that there will be water in this level to a certain extent, but yeah, don't think Zelda water temple really. But it's the water level, I suppose, sort of, kind of, without trying to be a cliched water level that everyone hates.
It's gonna be soggy.
Yeah, it's gonna be mildly
Puddles.
soggy. Think fountains and
Yeah.
like, you know, water running down into pools and things like that. Water dripping from the ceiling. Let's see if I can do a bit of a recessed center tile, perhaps? Yeah. We'll try it. Not a fan of that colour for this tile, though. Is there something slightly more interesting going? Oh, no. Something that doesn't look like mustard. Fancy reflections of the player. That is the idea. But we will see. That's the general concept. But yes, we will see if that actually ends up happening or not. It might. It might not. I hate that colour. Whoa, that's not what I wanted. No, not feeling that. Let's change that to something totally different and see if I like it a bit more.
Can we expect a release date of soon.tm?
Yeah, you can expect
Yeah,
soon. Yeah,
Definitely. Sometime soon.
yeah, definitely soon. Yeah, alright, let's just do that. Why not? That's fine. Have a little play and see if I like any of this or not. Do I have a light? I don't. Let me make one here. Dark. And let me just see if that tickles my fancy. Oh, what have I done with the grouting there? Silly boy. Let's try that. Yeah, that could... something like that might have the potential to work, but definitely not for a main tile. Don't like the contrasting colours on it. Nope. could work for like I was talking about having an encirclement of other tiles, but nah. Obviously it needs shading and everything like that, but I always go through and just sort of basically shade them to see if I like them or not. No, let's just make him the same color again and see if that helps at all. Rather than going for something contrasting there. What was that? How did you come up with the palette? Sorry if this answered before. So the way I come up with my palette is I find an image that I like the look of first of all, and I pick 2 colors out of it. Now with the one that we're looking at, that's super easy because it is pretty much 2 main colors there. So where are we? Yep. So you got a blue and a gold. Pretty simple. And then from there I go through and add a couple of sort of tertiary colors to that. Because obviously 2-color pixel art is very interesting, but not really what you want to be doing. So, gonna make a couple of sort of lighter and darker versions of that, and then I try to leave it as is. And when I come up to a spot where I need more colors, I try to add them from a different hue, so to speak. So instead of adding another blue, I will try to make a green, or try to make a a red or something like that, and see if I can use that in some way that works. Well, I wouldn't make a red from a blue, but you know what I mean. Like, you try to make something that's somewhat complementary, but isn't just another blue, because you don't need that many of them. I think, like, how many blues have we got here at the moment? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Some of these are doubled, so I think it's like 7 or 8. It looks like 8. That's the same as that one. So we got 8 blues there, but then we've got a couple of dark teals and a couple of greens and things like that as well. And I think that can be the best way to go. But I like color restricted pixel art. Like, I love EGA, old EGA graphics and things like that. So that's what I go for. But if you're going for something that's like more sort of like the 256 color period, like VGA graphics, I mean, you can pretty much pick whatever colors you want and just go for it, but I find it easier to work with less, not work with more. Something like that. Let me stick that to the side and I'll see if I can come up with something else. I quite like the idea of having a gold tile, but I'm not really feeling that. Let's go for another cross to start him off and see if I can divide him into something that looks half interesting. Just going to start ruling him out here and see what works and what doesn't. That's what we were talking about before. In a 32 by 32, you don't have a center tile, you've got a center 4, so you end up with lines like that. Let's go. Try something like that. And again, I'm just making it all up as we go. Hey, no worries, that's all good, man. Let's have a look. I'm just trying to come up with a pattern that I think's moderately interesting and could work into something. It's interesting, I'll give it that. It's a bit funky with these bits here where it doubles up, but obviously we can fix that up a bit with a bit of creative colouring in there. Let's give it a go. Just going to do the basic shading on almost like pillow shading sort of thing here, which works well for tiles when you just want to see if it's got potential and worth working on, or if it should go in the bin. Because you never really know until you add at least a little bit of shading, and then you can see if it's worth putting more time into it, or if it's better starting on something else. I don't mind it. So far, at least. Because I do want something... I said I don't want something super busy, but I do want something that is moderately elaborate for this, because it is... What's the sort of nature of the environment. So the challenge is getting something that's sort of a bit elaborate without being absolutely ridiculous. That's some really loose shading on there. Let's see if that works. Sure. Let's have a look. Yeah, it could work. Very strange shape. Jeez, that's pretty funky. It makes my eyes go weird looking at it too much. What's the gold thing on the hat of the soldier, by the way? I don't know, I just kind of imagine it was like a badge or something.
A badge or something. They don't really have that, like the actual soldiers, but
yeah,
try and make him look a bit more interesting.
Yeah, it's it. Give him like a, I don't know, like a unit badge or something like that. Just kind of. But yeah, it's very helpful for the actual pixel art to tell which way he's facing, basically, because he doesn't really have a face, so to speak. So, yeah, something like that might do.
There's a little bit of hype for Baldur's Gate 3 and Flight Simulator as well from
Flight
E3.
Simulator, Jesus.
Baldur's Gate. Did we play that?
I don't think you have. I've played Baldur's Gate many a time. Quite a while ago. I haven't played Baldur's Gate in ages. It's ancient.
Is it a Neverwinter Nights thing?
It's Dungeons and Dragons, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, old.
Let's have a look. Been alive for an hour and 40 minutes so far. I'm just going to pop this on, be right back, because I'm just going to go get another coffee, and I'm going to go to the loo and things like that. And I'll be back in just a second, guys. So, yep, back for some more tiles. I'm going to have a think about these ones. I'm not sure. I don't know, they're not bad. They're alright. They're alright. They're growing on me, but I want to sort of give them a rest and see how they look when I come back. So, back in just a sec, fellas. No rest for the wicked. Now pizza. Oh. Don't tempt me.
Cheeky little pizza.
Cheeky little 10 a.m. pizza. That'll be alright. I thought I might as well, while I drink my coffee here, I'll show you sort of current game, what it looks like and everything like that. Show you what I've been working on. I've been working on lots of the special abilities. Not all of them are finished, but a lot of them do something, which is kind of cool. So, let's jump over to Game Maker. There we go. And I'll fire up the game here. It'll take a second or two for you to be able to see it. It takes a while to grab the actual, to grab the game screen for whatever reason, when it actually wants to compile here. I think we're waking up the network drive. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm on. Alright, and it'll probably take a couple of seconds until you can see what's going on here. It's currently open for me. I'm not sure if it's open for you yet.
Not quite.
Not quite. Getting there. Okay. So we've got a couple of different special abilities at the moment. That's the third icon on the HUD here. If you can see that. Let me just check. OBS that you can see it. You can see it. Good. Okay. So that's the third icon here. So we've got melee, ranged, and then, well, speaking of, there we go. Let me just turn my actual speakers down there so it doesn't bleed through the microphone. Sorry about that. There we go. Very placeholder sound effects in there at the moment. Just kill off these guys so they're not in my way. Okay. So the soldiers, for example, his special ability is his bugle here, which if I open it up, oh, I've actually got the wrong one on there because I've spawned it. So let me just grab something else. That's right, because I'm halfway through spawning everything. One sec. Get out of here. I can spawn myself some random items here. Ah, that's a good example. The Tesla effect. So does random AoE damage to enemies around you. It can also harm you, because it's one of those risk-reward sort of abilities. So let me see if I can just fire it up here. There we go. Kabang! And then all your special abilities have a recharge time. Each character starts with a different special ability. And they all have varying degrees of how useful they are. And you are able to find other special abilities throughout the levels, but they're not as common as finding items. So they are somewhat difficult to get a hand on. Now, please ignore how easily I'm killing everyone here. These guys don't really fight back yet. And let me see if I can find something else. For example, oh, that's just a heal, nothing too exciting there. We got haste, for example, which are these ridiculous looking boots, which boost your movement speed for, I believe, 20 seconds, 10 seconds. There we go, and he's run out, and now recharges again. And now I've got a million enemies after me, so I'm just going to reset the level. There we go. So the soldier's one gives him a buff to all damage. It's only a minor buff. It's like a 20% buff, and it lasts for, I believe, 20 seconds. It's his one. And because I was testing him earlier, it recharges instantly. But he gets this nice little ring around him, lets you know that there's a buff going on at the moment. And there will be likewise rings to signify debuffs and things like that. And you'll have an accompanying icon up in the top left corner and things like that as well. Once the god is up there as well, he will react to it. Again, I'll just kill these guys off so they're not in my way. There we go. Boots are made for walking, indeed. Let's see what else I got. Loved Bannerman. Well, thank you very much. Do you want to make an update? I'm kind of done with Bannerman, to be honest with you. I really want to play your new game. Well, it will be out eventually. Maybe. Another good example of a special ability that's sort of a bit more interesting than some of the others is Forbidden Knowledge, which summons homing projectiles, which attack enemies for you, things like that. So that gives you an example of the sort of different utility that you can have in special abilities. Some of them do damage, some of them are buffs and debuffs and things like that. Blink is a good example. You teleport yourself very quickly towards your cursor. That is another one that works, so I'll just wait for it to fill up here. And then I can give you a bit of a demonstration as to how he looks and what he does. They're all just little utility spells, basically, like that. Now, the actual recharge time on these isn't set. A lot of them just have it set to like a minute, because that's what the default is for all of them. The grenade is probably the most... Oh, he actually just blew up. Bump bump. Ah. My grenade blows up at the moment. Blows up the computer, but not anyone else. That's interesting. I'll have to fix that later. I broke him. But yes, that's what we're currently doing now. But I thought I'd take a bit of a break from doing the special weapons today. It's what I've been doing for like the last 2 weeks. And do some of the pixel art that we've been seeing. I've been letting this rest in my mind for a while now, and I don't mind this tile set for the floor, but my problem with it is the way our tiles work and the way like our graphics are working at the moment is it's darker down towards the floor and gets lighter up towards the ceiling, and I don't like that this is the same brightness as the brightest parts on the columns. That's my problem with the floor that I've got there at the moment. So what I might try to do is do some little recessed tiles in here, like perhaps some of these bigger ones. What's that? I wonder why you didn't include your names in the title of Bannerman or your other games. How do you mean? Do you mean that I don't credit myself, sort of thing? It's all under Armitage Games is our company name. A lot of people have actually said that why don't I have credits for Bannerman accessible in the menu, and that's, to be honest, that's something I didn't even think about. There's credits at the end of the game, and not actually throughout the game, if that's what you mean. So I might just try to knock these larger ones down just a bit to see if that helps with sort of the problem I'm having with these feeling too raised up. The problem is it might... Oh, I see, like getting over it by... Yeah, okay, yeah. I don't know. I just didn't feel it, to be honest. But I do know what you mean. I'm not sure why. It's just like I'm like, here's the game, not so much here's me making it, sort of thing. That's weird to say because I'm live streaming it right now, but you know what I mean. Alright, let me try to knock these down and see if that makes something a bit more interesting happen. And keep these ones all raised up, perhaps. I mean, that could work. Especially with some actual shading on them. Cool abilities, varies the cooldown times and stuff like that randomly when you find them. The cooldown times will be set for each one. It's influenced by one of your stats. You have an intelligence stat. And your intelligence stat influences how long items take to recharge. So it's kind of like a mage build. If you wanted to just shoot out projectiles non-stop, you get the projectile item, you bump your intelligence up and it recharges really quite quickly. The soldier has rather low intelligence, but he's got rather high strength and agility. He's kind of like your basic, I'm just going to fight stuff sort of character, being a soldier, as what you expect. There will be rare items, definitely. pretty much all of the specials are relatively rare, but there's a couple in there that are really going to be quite hard to find. They're also going to be somewhat unlockable as well, so you have to play through the game, die, and then, you know, unlock the next set of items. You should... Well, yeah, maybe I should. You're probably right. I just didn't even think to do it. Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind this. I actually don't mind that. With those bits recessed, it's starting to look a bit more normal. Because one of the things too is we have, when the levels generate, there is a shadow layer that goes in front of the wall. So I should probably try to emulate that to some degree here. I believe it's full height. And it draws over with a bit of transparency like that. So that's what it would actually look like in game. It's not bad. Bit of shading and a bit more interesting things on it. I reckon that could work. It might be alright. Release date of soon. Yes, soon. Soon. No, I've got no idea on release date as of yet. Absolutely no idea. Eventually. Yeah, I don't mind them. I might see if I can actually make these a bit more interesting and do a bit of variation for them now. Because, yeah, come on. I need to go. Bye, Haley. Bye, Michael. Wish you great success. I'll buy your next game, certainly. Thank you very much. See you later. Have a lovely day. I think I'm going to do a couple of, like with the dark parts, yeah. Me too. I reckon it's a winner. I'm going to do a couple of different variations here, cracks in the tiles and things like that, and just see if that works as well. I'm going to put the tile grid back on so I can actually keep track of where the end of these tiles is. There it is. But yes, that's sort of more interesting without being overwhelming, which is good. You don't want the floor to be too busy. But you don't want it to be too boring either. It's a real balancing act here. Now I've got a darker brown that might work too. Okay, cool. And there's that really dark one. Okay. Let's try. I'm going to put a couple of cracks just through these tiles here. Like that. So that light about there. Yeah, okay. Okay, it could work. I think I'm going to need a darker colour here as well, but it's good enough for a sort of proof of concept to see if it works or not. Yeah, I don't know, that's not bad. I can see this one working, and especially I can have moss growing over the tiles and things like that as well. Okay. This is far too busy in there. There we go, that's a bit better. I feel like it does need a darker colour here. It's probably got too much saturation to it. Maybe one more dark greys. Probably a bit too dark, but concept sort of works. It's not bad. We'll try an entirely missing tile to see how that looks as well. This tile seam that goes from the center to the bottom. Center to the bottom right. shading on both sides. Where are we? Oh, it does too. Good job. Oh yeah, I don't like that grey. Let me just make another colour here just for the sake of it. Bump, bump, bump. Let's go. Let's try to saturate him up and see if it looks any good. That's good though. Oop. Replace that for the moment. That's good enough for now. Too dark for that. Yeah, not too sure about the missing tiles. They're probably too big. Works well with missing bricks.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure about the whole tile, but that's alright. Bomb. I think cracks and moss and things like that. Yeah. Well, that's good. I'll put that to the side as something that I'm sort of happy to keep working on later. Let's see if I can get another sort of tile going, because we need a couple of them. I do want to try something that is like almost a white, but again, like I said, with the floor does need to be darker than the walls, so I'm not too sure how that's going to work out, apart from just being grey. But let's try a grey, I suppose. Oh god, that's such a horrible grey, that. What else we got? Greens could definitely be interesting. Let's try grey, and then I can just change the colours from there if I want to do something later. What sort of shape can we have for this? Again, I'll start with my cross, and I'll just start dividing them up in a couple of different ways to see what works and what doesn't. Probably something a little bit smaller this time around. Let's go. Let's not do that. Actually, maybe we can. Let's try it. I start getting very confused when I look at this too much. What have I done here? Let me just do that because that's starting to confuse me. No. I do like the idea. See, the reason I keep doing diagonals for this is because obviously the game is made out of rectangular, like on a rectangular grid with rectangular tiles. And I like using sort of diamond shapes for the floor when possible, because it helps break it up. It tends to, you tend to see it sort of tessellating in the middle rather than like in the middle, like this part here. You tend to think of that as the center, not so much this section. This looks like the edge, so it sort of offsets it a bit, and it helps break it up so it doesn't always look like it's just so grid based. And because that's a real problem with doing anything with tiles, is like you can see where the tile begins and ends, and if it's super obvious for both floor and walls and things like that, then it's not real great. So obviously the walls are super obvious because we've got the pillar right on the edge there. Now we could put the pillar in the middle and then build around that, but I figured I'll do the walls that way and then I'll do the floor the other way. I'm trying not to do them both the same way, if that makes sense. Let's see if I can do something here with this. I'm not feeling that at the moment, but I might keep where... those portions are there. I'll just keep those little notches there as a reference for myself to see if I want to break them up anymore. Perhaps I can go try and not do exactly what I did last time. Okay. So if I go straight across, then I basically end up with what I had last time. So why don't I go down here, up there. Just gonna make a bunch of patterns and I'll delete the bits I don't want. I'm doing something like that. Perhaps that'll work. Perhaps it'll be terrible. Let's try it. It's so hard to tell. See if I subdivide that up. No, that's going to be shocking, isn't it? Yeah, nah. Keep that. Get rid of these. I might think about moving these around a bit. I'm glad you loved the soundtrack. It's, yeah, I'm really happy with how it came out. Do you use a pad or mouse for pixel art? I use a mouse. Haley uses a mouse sometimes and a pad other times.
Yeah.
I'm very used to mouse drawing though. I'm way quicker and way more accurate with a mouse than I am with a tablet.
So at the moment, because I'm just doing sprites, I'm kind of recoloring and adding bits. I just use the mouse. If I am coming up with new concepts or like pretty much for all of the intro animation work that we did, I use the tablet. Just kind of depends on what I'm working on.
What have I done here? I've got these all set slightly. What a silly boy. Let me fix that. I've got it here too. What are you doing, Michael? Oh yeah. That's certainly very interesting.
Ooh.
The only problem with this is I have double thickness here, which is kind of frustrating. What do we got there? Have you guys finished recoloring the God Mask? You have, haven't you? I think? Yeah.
Yeah.
All done, apart from the fact that we probably want to do more animations for him down the track, but yeah, he's all recolored. I'll be putting him in the game eventually, after I do the specials, get them all finished up. Then I'll be popping him in, and he'll be sitting there looking angry at you as you run around, and then I can make him get up to some mischief as well. Yeah, I don't mind it. It's kind of fun just drawing patterns, to be honest.
Yeah.
Let's do a couple more. Let's again start with the old cross. And I'll find out when I really like something, then it'll jump out at me, is my theory. Let's go from there. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking, yeah. Let's just change my little highlight. That could be interesting. Didn't just make GameStart 4 years ago. Yeah, something like that. It might even be 5 actually. A long time ago.
Been a while.
Been a while. But I have released one game in there, so that's something. Oh, that's definitely something. I don't mind that. It's kind of strange to look at.
That's nice.
It's kind of weird looking at these repeating patterns over and over again. Makes your face, your eyes start doing some weird stuff. I don't mind it. I don't mind that. We'll try that. And let's try another one as well. I'll try a couple more of these and then I might jump over to doing some sound effects, because a lot of these special abilities that I've got in at the moment are entirely silent. In fact, pretty much all of them are, and they do need some sort of sound effect to them. And it'll be interesting to see if this will come across on the stream properly. I think I've set it up to capture everything, but it'll be an experiment to see if you can actually hear what's going on. But I'll probably do that after a break as well. I normally have a combination of Bannerman Cell check, Celtic stuffs, and Planet Coaster music on the go, and I work in the PC. Oh, well, there you go. Look at that. Why not add floral petal design for the floor to offset the brick? Yeah, I was thinking that. We kind of tried. Where are we? There's a bit of a floralish design going through a couple of these. So I was kind of. Oh, sure. I'm just kind of playing around, to be honest.
I really quite like the green and yellow one.
Yeah.
But the colours aren't really good for what we're going for.
Yeah.
Looks nice though.
Looks like an Australian Olympic team or something.
It does.
Hello, Carbs Code. How are you today? I am just currently playing around with some tiles to see if there's something that I can make something happen with these. I'm trying to do a floor pattern, and I'm literally just drawing a bunch of repeating patterns to see what works and what doesn't. Because you never know. So I won't do that. Same there. Okay. Well, how are you guys doing today? Yeah, we're doing pretty good. I'm a bit tired myself. I'm about 4 coffees in, trying to wake myself up.
I'm pretty good. I have a little bit of a cold, but It's not too bad.
Yeah, I'm just trying to pick out something that I actually like here. I'm just trying random things at the moment. You know, I'm sure everyone knows what it's like. You go to do something, it's like, oh, I don't like any of this. I do like this wall. I'm happy with him, more or less, with some different variations on him. I'm pretty happy with him too as a general idea. Obviously, it needs to have a bit of perspective on top, but ignore the top layer for him. He's not bad. He could work. But yeah, it's more the floors that I'm trying to do something with. We've had a go over here quite a bit with just all manner of different things. I'm trying to get exactly what I want. Hmm.
1:20 a.m. That's early.
Jeez, you are so keen.
It's well past my bedtime.
So far, my favourite overall design is that one there. This one, I don't mind that one. That's okay. Kind of reminds me of like a herringbone sort of pattern.
Yeah.
Thing. It's okay. Yeah, every pixel can make all the difference. That's for sure. Especially when you got so few to go around. Yeah. So I reckon that's probably the one I want to move on with the shading and yeah, bit sort of distressing as well because even though the inspiration image, which I will bring up again, is that one there, which is sort of what we're going for. I do want a slightly more distressed version, that's how we say. So this, when no one's attended to it for 80 years and it's all falling apart and there's mold everywhere, is kind of closer to what we're after. But that gives a pretty good idea of generally what we want. Bedtime is when I run out of Red Bulls, bloody hell. Same but with beer, that's more like it. Alright, let's try shading this up just a little bit to see if it is any good or if it is absolutely terrible. I'm just gonna do some highlights. Top left. Well, try to anyway. And then if it is, I might see if I can make it slightly more interesting. And then yeah, after that I'll probably go, I reckon, for a slight break after this. And then come back and maybe get into some sound effects. Because I do need to get them done and I haven't been doing them. Mainly because I've got so many other things that I should be doing, so that's the problem. But it's also a blessing in some ways because you can jump between whatever's working and what's not. I think that's everything. Let me have a look there. Have I missed any bits? That really shouldn't have anything on there. Oh, hello, Carlos. How are you today? Yeah, okay. It's not bad. I don't mind it. I'm not sure if I like the grey, but I can imagine it with a bit of shading and a bit of distressing going on. And where's my shadows? Whoop. Yeah. Cool work. I just don't like that grey.
Yeah.
I have to go like a blue-grey or something, I feel. But it's a good colour to just draw it in initially and then to go from there. I think I might see if I can extend this out just a touch. And perhaps make a sort of, yeah, a bit more of a blue-grey here. Tiles were 32 by 40, you're ending up 64 by 80 instead. Extra to work with, yes, but extra work. That's twice the work. No, yeah, it's like there's definite challenges to doing like super sort of low res pixel art, and that sometimes it's a boon, but sometimes not. Paul, I want to thank you guys for all the content. Wanting to get in the game dev for so long. You're very welcome, Paul. Just do it. It's easy. It's not. It's not, but it's I think it's very fulfilling, and it's great because it's something. It's a very creative sort of thing, and all you really need to do it is a computer, and that's it. Like it's not like you want to, make a film or something. You need to go buy cameras and get actors and things like that. It's like all you need is just a computer, and you're pretty much ready to go. That's why I like it. Twice the work, but when animating the particles on buildings, it really helps. Oh, are you doing buildings at that resolution? Yeah, that'd be a bit rough. I'm just doing a section of floor and a section of wall, and I feel like I need more pixels. How long have we been streaming for now? What do we got? 2.5 hours. Wow. Alright, I am going to take a slight break. I'm going to have another coffee. I'm going to have something to eat, and when I come back, I'm going to see if I can get into doing some sound effects, just a few of them, and then probably after that we might call the stream for today. But yeah, I'm gonna have a bit of a break now and get something to eat because I haven't eaten yet, and it's now 10:30, so I'm sort of starting to get hungry. So we'll be back in probably about 10 minutes or so. All right, guys.
See you soon.
See you soon. I have returned. Okay, so let's make some sound effects. So I need some sound effects for my special weapons and special abilities, I should call them. And I've got quite a few to go through. I've been meaning to make a sort of sound effects, sound design tutorial for a while now, because it's a sort of a bit of a gap in the skill set that quite a few sort of like indie game developers have. Like, a lot of people don't really know much about sound, and I'm not claiming to be some like master engineer or anything, but I've got a pretty good idea. I did mix the soundtrack for Bannerman, for example, so like I do know a bit about this sort of thing. So hopefully I can give you guys a few tips on how to get some sounds that have a bit of impact to them and things like that. I should actually have a look through the chat, shouldn't I? What have I got? What did I miss? What did I miss? Welcome back. Yes, good to be back. Let's see what we got. Oh, thank you very much. Everyone keeps calling me an inspiration. It's strange, but yes, I'm glad I can inspire. We can inspire you to finish what you're doing or get started, as the case may be. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up a few things here because I don't have anything open yet, so bear with me for 1 second. Let me kill all of this. So I'm going to show you some places to get some sounds, and then we're going to do a bit of mixing as well, a bit of basic mixing, and I'll show you sort of some pretty easy ways to get some decently impactful sounds. So a lot of what we're looking at has to do with impacts, normal game stuff, you know, things getting hit or things exploding and things like that, you know, the typical stuff that we always need. And you always know when you come across one of those games that's just got really wimpy sort of gun sounds and things like that. There's easy ways to fix that, and it's pretty easy to do so. So let me just get everything open here. Alright, I need Mixcraft open, so let me open that up. And I just need to make a folder or two here as well, so 1 sec. And I need to work out exactly what special abilities we're doing sounds for. I might start with the Tesla effect first, which is literally just a like a call lightning type spell is the best way to think about it. Let me just get my list open here so I can work out what I'm doing. Spells, specials, there we are. I've also got the war cry, which is that bugle thing. That could be good to do as well, because that needs a big bum bum type sound. Alright. So first thing we're going to do is I'll start with the Tesla effect first, so let me make my folder. Sorry, you can't see any of this yet, but I'm literally just making some folders, so don't worry about it too much. I'll get everything open in just a sec.
While Mike's making the folder, something that has been very good for us throughout development of this.
Our design document.
So, it's just something we did right at the start of development. We sat down and went, what do we need? What's it going to look like? What's the kind of story, if you can say story? There's not really much of a story. But we just basically went through and listed down everything we wanted to do, all the different characters we wanted to have, all the different like weapons and specials and all that kind of stuff for them. So we always have something to refer back to. Yeah, it's really good to have. Definitely something you should think about putting together if you want to work on a project.
Yeah, because I did do one up for Bannerman, but it was it was pretty crap, to be honest. I didn't really end up sticking to it too much. I did far too much of making stuff up as I went, which is still fine to do to a certain extent, but this helps keep us all sort of locked in, and we just amend it as we need to. Like if we're getting rid of one of the special things, you just cross it out, or you put a new one in, you just write it in. Like you can still change stuff, but it just means you've always got something there. You don't have to go, I don't have to open Game Maker now and look through my code and go, oh, exactly what have I got here, and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's nice. And like, for example, with the specials, all we've got written here for this is we've got the name of the special, the effect of it, so what it does in just general terms, and then I've got like just a guess at what the cooldown rates would be on the actual sort of spell as well. A lot of those have changed, and there's sort of scribbling all over it, but yeah,
something really handy to have, and you know it's flexible. It's not set in stone yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can sort of set it in stone if you're really confident about what you're doing, but I think it's important to stay a bit flexible. I mean, you never know if something's going to be good until you actually make it and try it. But yeah, pre-planning, exactly. Super important. Alright. Okay, so when getting started with doing some sounds, you can there's a couple of ways you can go. You can either source some sounds yourself, as in record them with a microphone. Not everyone has access to a Zoom sort of field mic or anything like that though, or even a decent desktop mic like this. So a good place to go is to freesound.org. So freesound.org is a wonderful place, hence the name. Most of these sounds are free, not all of them. We will get into that in just a second. Now this is basically a big repository for things that everyone has done all sorts of things on here. A lot of people go around with field recorders just recording like the rain and things like that. So basically what I'm going to look at here is, because we're going to do like a lightning strike, I obviously want the sound of actual lightning, but I'm going to get some other sounds as well and basically combine these and mix them together. So first thing we're going to do, I'll go lightning. Now when on Freesound, there's something to be very, very aware of here. There are different licenses available. So these are all under different Creative Commons licenses. Well, not all of them actually, but they're all sort of Creative Commons based. So you have different types here, like so if you have to attribute the person you actually got the sounds from. There are non-commercial sounds, and then there are, the most important one for me at least, is Creative Commons 0. Creative Commons 0, you can read the license on here and elsewhere on the net. It is basically just a free public domain sound. You can use it for commercial, non-commercial purposes. You can use it for whatever you want. And that's generally the best way to go. There's nothing wrong with, if are sounds that are particularly good, and, you know, they're under, you need to attribute the actual recorder of the sound, that's great, but you have to keep track of everyone's names and things like that, you know, the big document of all these different people that recorded sounds for that you're using and things like that, and it's just a pain to keep track of. So I like to just go straight to 0. Now what I might do here is I'm just going to bump up my desktop audio, because I've actually got this set pretty low. Let's see about there, and we'll see if we can actually hear things or not. Now on the actual website here, you search for whatever you want, you get your big results. There's a little play button here, and you can just go hear what it actually sounds like before downloading it. What do we got? Oh. There you go. For example, I do have my headphones here, so I'll pop that on so that it doesn't bleed through the mic. Distance of the thunder there. So I'm just going to get a lightning strike. Now if you do want to just find Creative Commons 0, you can literally just pick it up here under licenses, so then nothing else pops up. You do have to select that every time you search for anything. It always resets, so be careful you're not downloading something under a different license if you are specifically looking for these. Let's see what this one's like. It looks like I might click a bit. That's got a bit of distortion to it. Hopefully you guys can hear this. Let me just get open my... Hopefully it's not too loud. That looks like it's pretty loud. Let me turn that down a bit. Sorry about that. It's probably blowing your eardrums out. Let me know if that's too loud or too quiet. I'm just looking at a VU meter here for it, so let me know if it's terrible. I might turn the music down a touch as well. Now that we're doing sound effect stuff, so... And when I actually get into mixing, I'll just cut the music there as well. Alright, let's see if I can find a decent lightning strike here. Yeah, Creative Commons 0 is basically public domain. It's, they just... When you release under that license, people can do whatever they want with it, and you don't care. It's pretty hard to find things that aren't sounds under CC0, but a lot of people do just chuck their sounds up and they go, look, you want to use it for anything, go for it. Nothing too exciting there. Let's see what I got here. Jeez. It should be okay. I'm looking at the VU meter for it. It's not clipping or anything, so hopefully it's not too quiet would be my main concern, but that's not too bad. Let's see what else I got here. Okay, I like that one because I'm looking for something that's got a bit of a rumble to it. Now, a lot of these are just real raw sounds, so they, like they're not processed in any way. Some of them are, but you generally want things that aren't processed yet because we're going to be doing all our mixing ourselves. So you don't want to be mixing on top of someone else's mix, so let me just save this one here. I'm going to grab that one. I'll just call that Thunder. So we got it there. Easy. Okay. Now, I might grab another Thunder as well, because... you quite like that one, so I'll grab that one too. Making sure it's under CC0 every time I download. So I'll grab him too. And now I'm also going to grab a whip, as in a whip cracking. Not that sort of whip, but where are we? Yeah, that's not bad. Let's see if we got a better whip crack here. Not quite. We got a synthetic one. No. And they're more wishes. So let's go this one here. I think. Yep, that's not bad. This should be alright for what we need. So I'll chuck him in there as whip. And the last thing I want is a cannon. I want a cannon firing. So a big giant boom. I think this is the one I want. I've gone to cannons before. They are very useful for lots of things. I think that's it. Let me see. Yep, we'll grab that one, and I might see if there's another one too. Let's have a look. Is there a new name for the game, by the way? I remember you searching, or is it still Commandments? It is These Sunken Halls. That is the new name. That's a good cannon sound. So we'll grab that too. Okay, and we'll do a little basic mix of these. Yeah, cannons are great. Especially using cannons for gunshots as well. Is a time-honored technique through film and games to get that big boom sound. A lot of westerns, especially like the like Good, Bad, and the Ugly, I think is a good example. All the gunshots in that are actually just cannons firing, because guns fire very infrequently in that movie, and they're a big impactful thing when it happens. So every time they fire off their little 6-shooter, it's a cannon firing, and that's a great way to sort of build up the impact. Whereas if you're watching like a John Wayne Western, then they fire in every 10 seconds, then you can't really get away with doing that, because it's just going to be way too much. And that's where you get those little ting 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 sort of sounds. Okay, so let me jump over here and make sure I've got all my files together. I do. Alright, so this is Mixcraft. Mixcraft is a DAW, a DAW, digital audio workstation. So it's basically, you think of this as Photoshop for your sounds. There's a bunch of different ones out there. There, like Pro Tools is one of the ones that you often hear of as being claimed to be an industry standard. And it certainly is in recording studios in this country, at least, and mixing studios and mastering studios and things like that. But they all basically do the same thing. It's a way of editing your sounds and applying effects to them. That's pretty much all it does, and that's pretty much all it really needs to do, to be honest with you. Now, what I'll do is I'm just going to first start by chucking a couple of my sounds in here, just into a couple of the tracks.
Is there any reason you use Mixcraft?
I use it because it's cheap.
Cool.
It's cheap and it works. I haven't had any problems with it. It does what I need to. But yeah, I'm pretty sure, like Mixcraft, I'm pretty sure I got this for, I think it must have been 60, 70 bucks or something. I think it was on sale at the time. I know they're up to Mixcraft 8 now, I believe. It's, from what I've seen, it's basically the same as 7. This serves me well. I mixed all the Bannerman soundtrack in this, so that gives you an idea. It works. Okay, so what we got here is I've got my bunch of sounds and I've just chucked them all in. So what I'm going to do is, you can mute each track individually here. I'm going to mute them and I'm going to just select the bits of the sound that I want, first of all. Very first thing, I'm just going to cut out all the junk. So first thing, we're going to have a little listen to the initial thunder. Now, what I probably want for this, for the Tesla effect, but I should probably mention this first, is when you first cast the spell, or use the special ability, there is a sort of slight delay before there's the actual lightning strike. So what I'll do is I'm going to basically make two sounds. I'll mix some portions of this out separately, but it needs a little build-up first. So when you press the button, there's kind of like distant rumblings of thunder, and then there'll be the actual lightning strike. So I'm considering using this one for the distant rumblings of thunder. So probably from about here. Just that sort of portion there. So what I'll do is I'll just cut him. Whoop. Try not to select everything. Move him back. And then let's see what I need. I'm just going to cut him there and fade him out, which is what this does here. Sort of rubber banding thing, that's to fade in and out sounds. Simple as that. So no mixing on it yet, just doing that. So we're going to mute that and go to the next one. I believe I actually want this as part of the impact. Does the thunder sound like backwards? It sounds kind of like when you reverse a cymbal. It builds up, goes. In fact, let me reverse it for you here. I'll reverse this entire sound. It sounds like this. Wait for the impact. So you get that ridiculous build-up. Alright, now this one's got a bit more of an impact, so I might use it for the actual thunder hit, or at least a portion of it. Now I don't want all of this afterwards. I just want to go from about there. So I'll fade out and do all that sort of thing in just a sec. Hello, Kirk. Just got off work, eh? I completely forgot about the live stream. I've missed so much. Oh, they haven't missed that much. What sounds the super chats make? Did it work? There we go.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. It makes our cliched boom sound.
We do love that sound.
I've been using that sound for years, that big boom sound. I should probably put that in as part of the lightning, but I might. Yeah, reversing sounds like that. Any sort of like big impactful sound that sort of goes bang and then tapers off, you reverse it and you've got an instant build-up. A cymbal's a cliched one, someone hitting a cymbal. That gets that shh sort of sound to it. Alright, so yeah, what was I doing? I got about here. I'm gonna fade that out real aggressively. Real aggressive fade out like that, because I'm gonna work around that, and we're probably gonna have more of the cannon going there than anything else. So let me just position these roughly where I want them. Obviously the game will decide itself. It's just going to play the rumbling sound and then do the actual lightning strike when it hits in game, but I'm just going to position them when mixing here in a vague sort of way, and then I'll let the game actually sort it out in code and things like that, but just so I've got a bit of an idea what it'll actually sound like. That's pretty close to the timing on it, so it's probably a little bit longer, but that doesn't really matter. Alright, so we got that positioned as well. Get rid of him. Now I've got our whip. So the whip, I basically just got this to add a little bit of high frequency impact to the actual sound. So I'll go into high and low frequencies and things in just a second when I get the EQ open. But just so you know what's going on. That's what that's for. It's for that, just for the bite, basically, you can think of. A lot of words like that used to describe sounds as, it's kind of difficult. You're tinny, rich.
Crunchy.
What's that?
Crunchy.
Crunchy. Yeah, so I'm just positioning everything here. Oh, try to select everything. Why do I keep doing that? Okay. And let's see if I can get this whip. That's such a wimpy little whip. We'll beef that up. You can barely hear it under that at the moment, but that's more or less where we want it. There's such a wimpy little whip sound. It's like someone with a wet towel. Let me just move that over to there. Yeah, you haven't missed too much, Kirk. I was just playing around with some tiles and things like that earlier, and I've just gotten into just doing a bit of sound now. Because I need to do it, and because it's probably not something you see very commonly on a stream, to be honest. People mixing sounds and things like that. I've certainly never come across it. I'm sure there are people that mix songs and stuff, but now we've got the cannon as well. A lovely cannon there. And I've actually got another cannon, so let me find that. Where is my other cannon? 1 second. Is this it? Yes, it is. Yeah, wet noodle, yeah.
He does have code crab.
There he is. Little fella always helps out.
He's so cute.
He's lovely. Alright. So there's Canon. I'm just trying to roughly sync these up with where they start. It's not super critical or anything at this point. I'll line them up properly in a sec, but let's see what we got. So second Canon, make sure it's the right sound. That's super beefy, that one. So that's going to be perfect for what we want. And let me just fade that down so make sure there's nothing else there. Doesn't look like there's really any sound after that. That's something you can do in this as well, is open it up to get a better look at the waveform. Even if you don't really know much about sounds, you know the bigger is louder. That's all you really need to worry about there. Okay. Well, now let's start doing a bit of mixing. Or actually, you know what? Let's listen to it unmixed first. Yes, Code Crab is for debugging. I scream at him going, why doesn't this work? Please help. Alright, let's listen to it unmixed. It's going to sound pretty terrible. And lightning. Pretty rough. There we go. Kirk, I'm using Mixcraft 7 as my DAW, DAW, digital audio workstation, but you can do this in anything, really. Like any of the available DAWs will be just as good. They're all pretty much the same thing, to be honest. Pro Tools is basically just this, and same with, like, what else is there? Reaper and things like that. It's all the same thing, really. I just picked this one because I like the interface and it's cheap. It was only, I think it's normally under $100, even at full price, I'm pretty sure. Alright. Now, let's get some EQ going. So, excuse me for 1 second here. I'm going to see, because it's very difficult to capture this thing here. I've just got to switch over. Like that. Hey, it works! You should be able to see that there. There's some... I'm capturing like 2 windows at once here, and it's very strange. Okay. And I am in the way. Actually, can I move it down at all? That's the bit you need to see. So let me move it down there, just so I'm not totally in the way of it with my big face. That's the only important bit. Okay. This is an equalizer. This is one type of an equalizer anyway. There are many different types, and they all basically do the same thing. If something worked while streaming, yeah, I know, right? Alright, so I'm just going to play the top sound now, the initial thunder, and we're going to watch it go through the equalizer. So this basically goes from low frequency to high frequency here, and we're going to play around with it, and I'll show you a couple of tricks as to get the right feeling out of the sound that you want. It's really quite easy once you get used to it, so here we go. So that one's just that distant thunder there. Now you will hear, well hopefully you can hear, I mean we're streaming here so it's a bit average. But hopefully you will hear that light rain. Well, let me just fix that for you, Jimmy. It's trying to say that's spam. There we go. You actually posted now. I think it says any link is spam. I'm not even sure what you posted. One of the best songs in my game dev playlist. Yeah, so this... that rain sound effect there, that sort of like light pattering, we don't want that. So in the game, it's like, yes, it's lightning hitting, but we don't have rain accompanying it at this point anyway. That might change. Now, you can actually see it on the EQ. It's right here. Real high frequency sound. So we're going to put a low pass filter on it, which looks like that. It's basically a curve. You can adjust how steep you want this curve. You can go real aggressive like that. We're just going to go a low pass 12, and we're going to try to cut out the rain sound while keeping the vast majority of the rest of the sound. So that's got rid of most of it. And that's about as much as we really need to get rid of there. Now, you'll also notice on here that we sort of don't have it. Basically, it's all around the 200 to 1K mark is where we're getting our main sound. What have I got there? Oh, I've finished the fan art of the soldier. Can I link things in here? Not sure what the best way is. Probably chuck it on Imgur or something similar, and then, yeah, post the link. It should post. It'll come up as spam, but I'll press the button and it should work.
Awesome.
Yeah, I want to see it. I'm quite excited now.
Yeah.
Alright, so, yeah, like I was saying, we cut out that rain sound. And you can see that the vast majority of our sound, like where it peaks, is between the 200 and sort of up to about 2K range there. Now that's right in the middle of where most sounds are. Anything lower than 200 is starting to get pretty bassy, and anything higher than like 1K even starting to get pretty high pitched, and tinny is a good way to describe it. Just making sure you can see all of that in there. I think you can see that all good on the EQ. You probably can't see the actual marks for 2K. Yes, it's very much what a noise gate is, yes. Yes, most, like, a noise gate is basically kind of like just doing this. Okay, so what we want to do is, because this is we want this as like a distant rumble, not so much as like a bit of lightning right there next to you. It's kind of like, oh, it's coming in, and then the actual sort of lightning hits, almost like there's a big fast cloud moving along. So what we want to do is we want to take out a bit of this mid-range as well, and we want to keep mostly just the bass. But we don't want to get this to be massive subwoofer heaven or anything like that. So we're not going to boost the bass up. We're just going to cut out. And that's probably a really good tip, actually, is if you're first getting into mixing, try to cut out, not add in, because there's only so much information that is already there. You really want to take things that you don't want away rather than trying to push up what it doesn't exist. So like me trying to make that whip real bassy, it's going to be pretty rough. That's not really made for it. But, you know, you could try, but it's going to sound pretty terrible. There we go. Let me approve that. Another moderator just handled this. Oh, there you go. Apparently, we've got another moderator. That's news to me. Let me just pop out to here. Oh, 1 second. We're going to have a look at this. Let me change out of that. Where's that link gone? One second. It's not actually showing up in my chat. Can you see it in yours?
I can see it on my phone there.
Okay, 1 second. Let me see if I can actually open up your link. I'm not getting it in the actual YouTube control room thing. So let me just see if I can open up the stream like I'm going to watch it, and then... 1 second. Well, you can probably hear me talking there. Oh! Copper, look at that!
That's amazing!
What a ripper!
That's so good, thank you so much!
Oh, I'm chuffed with that. That's bloody amazing.
That's beautiful!
He's highly determined. That is absolutely fantastic, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love him. I love him. He is so angry right there.
It looks like he's seen some things.
Yeah. He's right in the middle of kicking ass.
Yeah. That's amazing.
That's some 10 out of 10 shit, that. Thank you so much for that. That's bloody brilliant.
So good.
Where do we hang the new painting? Yeah, no, it's absolutely fantastic, man. Thanks very much for that. Alright, let me jump, what's I doing? Jump back into Mixcraft. I think, where are we? Mixcraft, let me get him back. Hey, it works still. Oh yeah, I was pushing the sound in the background. That's right, so I'm just basically going to push down mainly on the sort of 2K realm, so I'm sort of getting this kind of like shelf type shape where it comes in and goes whoop. And then we're probably going to add a bit of reverb to this as well, so we'll get into what reverb is and how it works in just a tick as well. So let me just have a little listen. Pull him down just a little bit. That's already starting to sound pretty distant compared to what it was to start with. Alright, catch you later, buddy. Good luck with ZBrush.
Yeah, bye.
That's pretty good for what we want at the moment. So what I might actually do is we're just going to chuck a little bit of reverb on him. Let me open him up here. And let's just get... This is just the inbuilt reverb that comes with Mixcraft. Oh, the other EQ, if you're wondering as well, it is called Gliss EQ. That's GLISS-EQ. That is just a free plugin that you can grab. I believe there's a demo version of it. I think, actually, no, it's not entirely free. I think I paid a couple of bucks for it. It was pretty cheap, though. Alright. Now we've got our reverb open. So reverb is basically the sound of, it's the concept of sound bouncing off like another surface and bouncing back to you. Singing in the shower, that is reverb. That's what makes you sound good. If you've ever been to karaoke, they always crank up the digital reverb so everyone sounds a little bit better. At least in a way trying to salvage the night anyway. So reverb generally sounds pretty good. It is a pretty amateur mistake to put way too much reverb on everything, so try not to use it all the time. Use it very sparingly would be the way to go. Now, there is a built-in reverb on this, which is push sound into background. Now, what this does is it basically puts a big bunch of reverb on and it does a lot of high-frequency dampening, which is pretty much what we've actually been doing there as well. So it's going to push it down even further. And it does sound like something quite distant, but it is very echoey. So this is what it sounds like with the basically a high-level reverb on. Oh, before I get into it, wet mix and dry mix, what that means. Dry mix is how much of the sound before you've applied reverb to it. So if you've got 100% dry mix, 0% wet mix, it just sounds like it did before. Wet mix is the actual reverbed sound itself. So that's like the sort of slightly delayed, slightly changed sound of it bouncing back off a surface. That's that part. So this is actually quite low at 20% and 14%. And that's part of what makes it sound so distant. Here we are. I'll stop talking. I'll let you listen to it. We'll do one more time for that. Kind of sounds like it's about 10 kilometers away in that sort of that direction. Not exactly what we're after here. So I'm just going to turn the reverb down and the high frequency dampening down. And I'm just going to go with a bit more dry and wet to this and just play around until I get something that I like. I want a little bit of reverb on it. Not much. Too much. Yeah, you get more wet in the shower. That's exactly right. Yeah, I'm just going to drop the wet down. I don't think I really need much on this at all. So a good way to go too is if you're having trouble listening to what it sounds like, turn your dry totally off, and this is the bit that you're actually mixing up. And then you can hear better what your high frequency damping and things are doing. So we'll do it without anything on. There you go. So pop it about there. We're going to go about 100, and that's pretty good for us. Pretty good. There is another type of EQ reverb that I'm going to pop on now, so I'm just going to turn that off, so it's not active at the moment. And I'm just going to grab this other one here, which is there. Make sure I've got it in shot. I do, by the looks of it. So this one is another this stream going to be uploaded to YouTube after the fact? Yes, it will. It will definitely be available as a VOD. You normally have to go into the videos on our channel, and then up the top left, when you go to videos, there is a little drop-down box that'll say videos or live stream. And you go down to live stream, and it'll have all the live streams there. I will try to actually make a proper tutorial for this one day. I just really haven't had the time to film and edit it, and I figured I might as well just basically do it on stream now. Because really, those that are probably going to get the most use out of it are likely those that are watching now, to be honest. So, this is a different type of EQ, I keep saying it, reverb here. This is a downloadable one. It is free. It is called Tal Reverb, T-A-L Reverb. This one's really cool because it's got different reverb settings for the different frequencies, and you can set those frequencies. So, like, it's basically a combination of an EQ and a reverb. So if you just want the low rumble to have a bit of an echo to it, you can turn off high and mid, set it to, yeah, about 108, 130, roughly. Ooh, you can hear even when I stop there. So I'm going to turn the dry off, and we're just going to listen to the wet for this one. It's pretty juicy. So that... Oops, I just recorded something there. Try not to do that. Let me fix that up. There we go. So that gives that low rumble a little bit of echo, but not on the highs, which is quite nice. So you can tailor this to exactly how you want. It's kind of like a more advanced version. It can take you longer to get exactly what you want out of it, but I find it better because you get more control. So I'm probably going to go with this rather than the other EQ, which we did before. I just did that because it's really a simpler way. You just go EQ, done, reverb, done, bang, see ya. So let me just listen to that one more time. I'm pretty happy with most of that, to be honest, so we'll call that. I'm just going to delete the other reverb. Get rid of him. Jibby Boy, do you plan on ever showing a game at a large event like PAX? Yeah, probably at some point. PAX is pretty dear to go to as a developer unless you get into their like indie showcase, which is, you know, obviously pretty stiff competition for that sort of thing. But yeah, it can be pretty pricey to go there as a developer. It's a good couple of thousand at least. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, having to like set up, you know, you want lots of screens and lots of like computers there so people can play, and you want cool signs, and yeah. Yeah, and then even just hiring the booth is quite a bit. So, but yes, I'd like to at some point. Thanks for loving us and loving our channel. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I didn't even see that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for being excited about our game too. It's always nice to hear. I like the look of the plugin too, very neat. Do people write plugins for this? Or is it mostly just software developers? Lots of people make these plugins. These are VST plugins. There's thousands of them over the net. There's paid ones, free ones. There's all sorts. There's like you can get synthesizers that make, you know, they're all strange and do weird things. People love them. Yeah, it's a bit strange to sort of the idea of making plugins for this sort of thing to me, but you know, kind of like brushes in Photoshop, I guess. Yeah, people make them. Yeah. People must enjoy making them. Yeah, I guess so. Like, I
Yeah.
can totally see this. It's like you're mixing a song or you're recording a song, you need a specific sound, nothing exists, make it,
Yeah.
and then put it on the net. But yeah, some of these EQs and reverbs and stuff are great. There's all built-in ones that you get with the programs, whatever program it is you get, but it doesn't really matter because probably the best ones are really free ones that you'll just grab off the net, to be honest. Now we've got our distant thunder there. We're just going to go down to our next thunder, which is the sort of actual crack. We're just going to listen to this roar again. And let's crack open our EQ one more time. I'll make sure I position that so you can actually see it. Oh, I think that's okay there. Probably more like that. There we go. Yeah, that's it. It's like making a level editor or something and then putting it on the net afterwards. Catch you later, Jimmy boy. Thank you very much for hanging around. Alright, so we're going to have a look at this with the EQ on so we can see exactly what's going on here, much like what we did with the last one. Good step to do. So let me just position that so I can actually play it. Here we go. Quite a big wide sound, that one. Wide in that it takes up pretty much the entire spectrum, which is good. That's generally what you want because then you can pull out what you don't want. You don't want something that's basically, if you can avoid it, depending on the sort of sound it is, that's just in one little section, like it's just up here and that's it. Because that's going to make your life a lot harder when you're editing. Here we go, so one more time. Now what we're going to do with this sound is we're going to keep a lot of the higher frequencies, but we're going to get rid of a lot of the lower ones. Now the reason we're doing that is because we're not really interested in the low parts of this sound. We've got other things for that. So we've got that original rumble that we did, and we've got the canon, which we haven't mixed yet, which are basically just going to be low bassy sort of notes. So we don't need any more bass in this. Basically, you only really want... You want each sound to have one bit that it focuses on. So then this one's going to be about here, and then it's sort of like the mid-range, and we're going to have the whip up here, and then the cannon down there. So we're getting the best bits of each sound. So what we're going to do, and just to sort of show you what we're looking at, I'm just going to put a low pass on here. So this is just the bass from this particular sound, the bit that we're going to cut out, more or less. It's a bit of a rumble, nothing too full on about it. It's nothing like too exciting. The cannon's definitely got a far more exciting rumble. I know because I've used this sound before. It's one of my favorites. But I'm just going to basically get rid of that. Chop it about there. We're going to have a couple of plays through. I want to make sure I don't get rid of too much of it. It's going to sound pretty tinny before we mix anything else in. But I don't want it sounding like it's coming through, headphones from someone sitting over there a couple of meters away that's listening to it far too loud. So let me just have a little listen here. That's not bad. Now I'm just going to kill off some of the real high end here as well. With a bit of a low pass, because we are going to have the whip up at about, and the whip's probably going to be sitting at about 2K, I'm guessing. But it's going to have a bit up around 10 too, that sort of real tinny bit. That's pretty good. Now that's probably all we're going to do with this one at the moment. We're going to come back to it later. But that's probably all we need right now. Listening to these two together, this is what we sound like so far. So you notice it's missing a bit of impact now, but that is coming soon. So let me get rid of this. We're going to go over to our next track, which is the whip. And let's have a look and see if I was right at my guess as to where the whip sits. I think I said about 2K roughly. Make sure that you can see that. Sorry, let me line it up. There we go. Due to the way I'm capturing this, it's very weird. I have to line it up manually each time. Alright, let me jump back in. So I think I said about 2K. Oh, I wasn't too far off. It's a bit higher. Now, 2K is where I guess, because, right, here's a little tiny tip for you. This 2000K notch here, 2K notch, 2000K, 2K notch in terms of sound. 2K is really annoying if it's prolonged in any way. So, a good example of something that's pretty close to 2K, it's not exactly, but it's pretty close, is the cliched Zelda, like, low health sound. You know, dit. That is so irritating because it's right around the 2K mark and it absolutely annoys you. Now, it doesn't mean you have to get rid of 2K, but you probably don't want to have too much of it, would be a good way to put it. Especially in music. Sound effects can work if you want something that actually draws your attention to it. Something like the Zelda low health thing. 2K is a good spot for it. Just don't overdo it because you're going to really, really annoy people. Yes, yeah, we definitely have a bit of a wind up there. But like I said, I'm just going to export that first sound, just the thunder, just by itself, and then I'll do it in code so it actually lines up perfectly with when the lightning hits. The lightning actually hits twice, so this sound will play twice. It won't overlap, I'll go bang, play it up to a certain point, and then cut, and then start it again will be the way to do it. Because you don't want sounds like this overlapping too much. It gets really muddy, is a sort of way to describe it. I have a library of 1,000 plus self-made brushes in Photoshop, and I probably only use 4. Yeah, I'm pretty close to that myself, actually. Yeah, you make them. I often end up making them for one specific job and then never use them again. Don't get too much 2K games, is what you're saying. Yes, that's exactly what I said. All right, so for the whip. Now, this sound is pretty clean. It doesn't have too much, like, rumble in the background. Sometimes you get recordings and there's, you can hear their fridge in the background, for example, and it'll sit down here being a rumble. Just like before we had the rain up the top, kind of like the hiss of a bad microphone. I'm still going to do a high-pass filter here and just take off the bottom, just in case there is anything there, because we don't want it. This shouldn't change the sound at all, but just in case, we'll listen anyway. Probably move it up just a little bit. There you go. Not going to have too much there. Now, for this 2K, just to have a bit of fun with it, I'm going to turn the 2K down, just so you get a bit of an idea what it sounds like without it. I'm probably going to leave it as is, but just so you get a bit of an idea. That's without the 2K, and here is 2K boosted to oblivion. See if we can hear the difference. See how that sounds a little bit closer. A good example of something that sits around 2K as well in terms of music is like a snare drum. If you put a lot of sort of 2K, 1K push around there, it gives it like a crack. It's that real sort of like, ooh, look at me. So I reckon we're going to probably boost it just a little bit because I did quite like how that sounded. That's not bad.
You got a nice little question there. How did you learn to EQ?
How did I learn to EQ? I did it a little bit at university. When I did multimedia, which was a sort of catch-all degree for anything computer-related. I did a little bit then, and I have been playing around with it for quite a while, just sort of hobbyist level. And then when doing Bannerman, I was forced to learn as much as possible because I had to mix an entire bloody soundtrack. So I almost crash coursed myself on it, trying to figure out exactly how everything works. Yeah, it's basically just from learning as I go. And I'm going to turn the high end down just a little bit because the high end's this real tinny stuff that you don't really like. I know this is our tinny portion of the sound, but we don't need it. So I'm just going to chop him down a little bit. I'm not going to actually chuck a low pass on him, but I'm just going to knock him down just a bit because we don't need that little sort of resonance there. Yeah, that's fine for us at the moment. So I'm just EQing at the moment. I'm just going to get rid of him. He's more or less done. We can listen to all three together now. You probably still won't really hear this because it is really quite quiet. We'll get into doing that sort of thing in a second. You barely even hear it there. There's like nothing there at all. But we will fix that shortly. Alright, now we've got our first cannon, which is this one here. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to use this sound because I kind of feel like this doesn't have enough low frequency for what I want. so I might end up using the other cannon instead. Let's have a little look. As before, we'll play it through and watch what it does. It's okay. We'll see what we can salvage from it. So if this doesn't work, we'll just bin it, but I'm just going to low pass obviously everything up here. I want the low bits, I want the rumble. Yeah. What I might do is I might see if I can keep the sort of the higher end of the low, so to speak. So from about sort of 1k down. It's going to make that a 24, so it's a bit, where is it? There we go, so it widens up a little bit. Probably same with this as well. Let me do a 24, there we go. Okay, let's see if I can get this higher low portion. There we go, that's okay. We might keep that for the moment, we might mix it in low. We don't really want too much of this sound because it's not that great, to be honest with you. It just doesn't sound that good. Alright, and let's go to the next one, next cannon here. This is a much better sound. It's, I believe this is from a very old, like US Army instructional video about, you know, cannons firing and things like that, about artillery or something. And it has been used for many things in many films. It's in the public domain and has been for ages. And let's have a little listen with the EQ open just to see what we got. One more time. You can hear someone talking in the background there, so we'll cut him out. Thankfully, someone talking is all around this sort of point for most people, especially people like that are distant from the microphone. They're going to be a little bit higher up. So let me just low pass that, chop the top off, and see what we sound like, and then we'll keep moving that until we get something we want. It's getting pretty meaty. We probably don't want as much up there though. That's pretty close to what we want. Low rumble. Now we'll probably put some reverb on that in a sec as well because, oh, maybe not. It does tail off quite nicely itself. Yeah, that's pretty good. Alright, let's have a listen to everything EQ'd, but we do not have the volume set yet for any of these, so some of these are going to be too loud. You can hear this thunder one here, doesn't fade out soon enough, so let me get rid of that. And let's try that again. That's not too bad. If the fade out's still a bit, but we will fix that in a second. So one of the things that we want to do here is with some of these sounds, especially with the whip, is a big one because this thing is so wimpy. It's a wimpy little sound. We're going to chuck a compressor on him. Now a compressor, just using the inbuilt one here. I have a bunch of them, but I'm just going to use that because it's simple. Can you see that? There we go, that's probably the best spot to go. A compressor basically makes, to sort of simplify it down, it makes quiet sounds louder and louder sounds quieter. So it keeps everything sort of ideally up to sort of a medium level. It compresses it down so the difference between loud and quiet isn't that dramatic. So you don't have really, really quiet and really, really loud. It sort of pushes it more into the middle. So we're going to compress this whip just a little bit to try to beef it up a little bit, and then we will probably compress the overall sound as well once we're finished, and that will kind of push everything up to where we want it. So let me just have a little listen through a few times. Wouldn't worry too much about threshold ratio, attack and release and that sort of thing here. Attack and release is basically like how long it takes to kick in and how long it fades out after it decides it's going to start changing the volume of it. Ratio is basically like, you know, how much it's going to do it, and threshold is what it does it to. You can... It's similar, yeah, it is similar. It's a little bit different in how it works, but like, what these do specifically doesn't really matter, and that's, like, one of the things. It's just, you just literally play with the slider, and you can easily tell what's going on. And especially with things like this, with presets, like, you go, oh, go punchy, and you're like, right, oh, okay, it does apply this much. And you can get a pretty good idea as to what's going on by just playing with it, to be honest. You don't really need to know why this works and how it works. It's just know basically what it does. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a little listen to the whip. Let's see if we can get him up a bit higher. There we go. It's louder already. That's better already. So we've gone from this to this. And that's just with a bit of compression on them. And like I said, we will probably compress the overall sound as well later. But that's pretty good as is. So let's have a little listen with just the whip compressed as well. I might actually line these up a little bit better because they're a little bit unaligned here. So let me just spend the time to line these up pretty close to where we want them. I'm glad I can help. It's like people sort of, I don't know, people treat this like it's some mythical art form or something, and it's like people seem very reluctant to explain how this stuff works in like without being like overly technical about it too. It's, I don't know, it's weird, but it's like it's really pretty simple stuff. And once you know, like EQ is the main thing. If you know how to EQ vaguely, you're like 90% of the way there in terms of like making sounds. That and just the whole concept of layering more than one sound on. Like if you want a gunshot, get 5 different gunshots and a cannon and probably a thunder crack and a whip and throw it all in there and see what it sounds like, EQ them and you're pretty much done. To be honest, that's like what most of this sort of thing is. Alright, let's listen to this with it lined up and with the whip itself having compression on it, EQ on everything, and there's a little bit of reverb on that thunder too. You can actually hear that whip now, so just one more time. It's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. The only thing is the way that it fades out is I'm not super happy with, because it does sort of fade very obviously, so I'm just going to play with that just a little bit here. That's a bit better. And you can bugger around with doing this heaps. You can like drag this out. You can put just a bit of reverb on the end so it sort of just tails off and things like that. But yeah, for what we need, and considering the sound will not play in total isolation, there's going to be music and other sound effects and things like that going on too. Let's just have a little listen one more time. It's pretty good. And that's pretty much our sound effect, to be honest. I'm probably just going to see if I need to compress the whole thing. So I've opened a master effects track. So a master track basically puts you can put effects on every single sound, all in one big burst. So I'm going to open the EQ first of all, and we're going to have a look to make sure our sound is nice and punchy where we want it, because a good way to sort of to check that your sound's good is to make sure it looks good on here when you finish. So we're pretty much close to finish now, or at least I think we are. Let's have a little play through. Make sure you can see that. Okay. And that's what we want. So we've got that rumble to start with, all around the low point, and then it kicks in and fills out the rest of it. There we go. Now you do notice when we do clip there, that's what those little red bits are. We don't actually want to clip. We will fix that with a limiter, which we will chuck on very soon. So you don't want any of your sounds to go over that 0, basically that 0 decibel there. and we're kicking up to about 3. Pretty easy to fix, and we're just going to do a couple of things just to sort of tighten the sound up just a little bit and see which ones we like. First up, we're just going to put a limiter on. A limiter is basically like a compressor. It's something that you chuck on right at the end. Oh, let me make it so you can actually see it. There we go. A good example of like it basically pushes it up to right underneath that 0, but it stops it from going over. So this is how you make things sound really loud, is you get them really close to that 0 point, but you don't go over it. And you make sure that the whole waveform in your EQ is really wide and takes up the whole thing. That's how you get a big, loud sound. If your sound doesn't sound loud enough, but you're turning up the volume and it starts clipping, but it still doesn't sound loud enough, then it's not wide enough in the EQ, and you need to have a look at that and fill it out with normally other sounds, layer other sounds in to fill up the whole range of it. Or at least the range that you more than you've currently got if it's sounding a bit wimpy. So basically, I'm just going to leave this as is. This is just set to like a master CD sort of thing. So this is like what you just a cliched sort of music limiter mix. We'll just have a listen to what it sounds like. We'll see if it pushes our quiet sounds too much in the wrong direction or not. I just realised I should probably fade in the thunder at the start as well. I neglected to do that. Let's have a little listen. There we go. That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. We're going to go one more time through. And what I'll do as well is, because we don't really need to see this because this doesn't really tell you too much, is I will open an EQ after this so we can see what this has done to the sound itself. So let me pop this about there. Okay, and now we'll be able to see what's going on here. Beautiful. And I think we're pretty good. Now, I'm listening to this through my headphones here, which are like cheapy monitoring headphones. Now, they're really good for mixing stuff, but they have very little bass to them because they're a monitoring headphone, and that's kind of like how they work. Now, I do have a subwoofer on this computer, so I am now going to listen to this through the sub. I'm just going to mute my microphone for a second so I can actually hear it without it bleeding through here. Because it's important to listen to it through multiple speakers and things like that, and then I'm going to listen to it through my speakers with the sub off and make sure I'm happy with it. I don't want it to be too rumbly on the sub, but obviously I want a little bit of punch in there. I mean, it is a lightning strike. It needs to get a little bit of rumble going. But I'm just going to turn this off for just a second. It'll probably still bleed through Haley's mic a bit, but hopefully not too much. There we go. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest.
That's nice.
Yeah, I think that actually worked out pretty well. Hopefully I turned my mic back on. Yes, it looks like I did. Thank you very much, Carbs. I hope that helped out in some way. But that's pretty much that's pretty much how I mix all of my sounds, just like that. So go through, make sure the EQ's nice on all of them, and there's nothing clipping and things like that. Not too much reverb, just a little bit if you need it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I do. That's it. Now, we've been going for a while now, streaming. What is it? Oh, it's nearly on 4 hours. So I reckon we're going to call it for today. Guys, thank you very much. Do let us know in the future if I'm on stream, if you want to see any more of this sort of sound side of things, because I've always got more sounds I need to do. So I can always crack it open and get to work on that if you do want to see anything more specific. Especially if it's music or something like that too. I can show you guys how to mix some music in a basic way. But other than that, anything else?
Nah, all good.
That's
Thanks for a fun morning.
See you guys. You have a
See you later.
very good day.
Thank you so much for that art of the soldier. I love it. It's so good. Thanks.
All right, guys. Catch you next
Later.
time. 2 weeks.